give the signs up, and I'm just gonna keep talking. So until people come on and start reacting, I'll just keep going. But I am live. I'm on. I got through shooting my videos. I just got through seeing some people respond to my Charles Barkley, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris video that I did. So we up and live now. I know it's daylight saving time for some folks coming up, whatever that means. Weather's still crap in a lot of places. Daylight savings times don't hit like it used to, because usually if that hour, you're going to lose that hour, that meant the weather was going to be warmer. It's still cold. And what's up? What's up? I know you ready. Where do I start with these bombshells? Which one do I want? What do you want me to go first? Scottie Pippen $250 million lawsuit. I just got through that video. I peeped out Willie D's thing, but I went and did some research on it. Scotty got an old girlfriend coming out, suing him, his brother. Yeah, and then they got the nerve to talk about some daylight savings time. What that? Get out of town with that mess. How the heck you gonna push the hour up and it's still cold? Yeah, lawsuit's crazy. Just got through seeing this coming. It's coming. It is coming. Oh boy. Ex-girlfriend, assault, Scotty's ex-wife, the brother, said the Chicago police people cover. It's crazy. It's 250 million. Yeah, I just got to doing a video, and I think he might need some of that new Bulls money. Might have to come in handy for him. Oh boy, it is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. A lot to talk about. I did some videos today. I'm sure you want to talk about that Lakers game. D'Lo came up big. Um, that wasn't a shock or surprise because Dame Lillard don't play no defense. They ain't play no defense. They let D'Lo pick and pop. Yeah, he ain't got no money because that's why a girl got out the house too. That's quiet as kept too, because you can't have a gold digger and you can't 3 or 4 gold digger ain't gonna be in a house that's broke. Scotty ain't got the bag. Scotty's bag went funny. That's why he out here talking reckless and janky now. That's why I remember in 2018 when he was in the studio with R. Kelly, they were doing that song and he was in there looking like he was drunk. Looked like he was like kind of like he just been toe up today. Scotty's money went kind of funny. I don't know what's all going on, but his money went kind of funny. So just what I heard was what I heard. Anyway, that lawsuit, uh Ticket TV did one. I ain't talked about it. I'm gonna address that one. That's okay. Hold my beer. That's a good one. Balco, the one to give the story to ESPN about LeBron, and they turned him down. So that's the one that's gonna make the rounds too. Yeah, he hit some nice faves last night. Hit some big shots, some drops. Um, I'm not surprised that they won, but Milwaukee will tear they behind it when they play Milwaukee. It was a game Milwaukee shouldn't have won. Was in the game, could have won. Just showed me what I already know. Teams ain't playing no defense, and it comes down to a guy who can catch the hot hand. That's all. You know. And I think on this forum, somebody asked me about Brooke Lopez. I think old dude from Africa was asking about Brooke. Why they don't go low post and make AD pay where Giannis comes in, I'll never know. I just don't like how Milwaukee runs offense. That's they and they don't have a point guard. That's the elephant in the room. They have no point guard because Drew Holiday, they win that game last night. They finish it up. They have no guard play. Dame is shooting logo threes. He ain't playing no D, and Dinwiddie got him clean. You know, but I'm not impressed though. I'm not impressed. People who are Laker fans will be impressed because they did it without LeBron, but I'm not. Excuse me. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. So yeah, that's a good nickname for him. He came up with a nice little block. I'm not gonna go crazy about him. That's the least he could do. I mean, they're not winning nothing with him, you know. Well, you might get lucky and get 7th seed, 8th seed. Oh boy, that Spencer Dinwiddie deal is really gonna move you from the playing tournament. Not, no. They are average team with average results. Nothing to get excited about. They just got their behind hand on the platter against Sacramento. Remember, when they go against guards, tough, tight guard play and low post presence, there ain't much to them. So before you get excited, just so you don't get too excited. Well, I'm not. He ain't exactly what the Heat needed, no way. He ain't a real 3-point shooter. He's a slasher. He can move, but what else can he really do? Of course, he'll fit in better in LA. He'll fit in better in LA than he would with Miami. I don't even know why the Heat were interested in him, to be honest, because he's not really a fit right now. He really ain't. So, you know. I mean, I saw him talking trash about the Mavericks, more power to him. And then he went to Brooklyn. But I'm not sitting around here. There are no Spencer Dinwiddie sightings. It's not like he's Bigfoot or something. It's like, oh, here comes Spencer Dinwiddie. It's not quite like that. But you can have old Dinwiddie. I'm not tripping about him. But anyway, but I knew Milwaukee was in trouble the way they got smashed by Golden State. So that's not surprising. To go to LA and lose, that's not surprising. They gonna, so whatever. But yeah. Yeah, well, I've already had a discussion with you. You asked me about him, and I don't know how many more chances he gonna get. If he messes this up with Luka, he gonna be the broke Doc Rivers. He'll be the Junior Whopper Doc, the one that never did get it, but had that caliber. Yeah, that's where he headed to. He better make something happen. Cause he ain't gonna get many more chances. I mean, okay, Brooklyn with the oldies but goodies tour. Then you went to Milwaukee with the young Giannis. You see where Giannis is now, and now you got Luka. Or if you mess this up, oh, they'll never let you coach in America again. I remember very well because I told you, I don't know if you remember or not, 21 years ago. I think you do. Yeah, you a basketball fan. You would have known. Slapped that French fries out his ex-wife's hand, and that's what cost him the league MVP. Duncan got it. That was the only reason why he didn't get the MVP in 03. Slapped that fries out. Or was it 02? Because Duncan got it that one year. Yeah. That was it. Yeah, that New York Knicks DUI was embarrassing too. I was like, come on now. Yeah, I don't talk about it much unless we talk about somebody and then I can recollect and then the flashbacks come, but I remember. And he had that recklessness when he was in college. Kid was always kind of like a bad boy. I don't know, but hanging out with Gary Payton come from Oakland. He always had some stuff. Yeah, not just 2, 3 gigs. 3. 4 if you include an assistant coach with the Lakers. And he got a bubble ring. Think about it. Because actually, I think Braun and them wanted him to be the head coach instead of Frank Vogel. That's what happened. Remember, he had assistant coaches and had 3 head coaching gigs. Sam Cassell can't even get a part-time gig. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen to this day. Because he couldn't stop the Lakers and he tipped the drink on the floor. That was hilarious. Should have known he'd do something. That's Jason Kidd. Not surprised. Not surprised. Not surprised. Yeah, I know. Magic was his, and he was compared to when he was in college. I remember. Look, I go back with Kidd. I remember. But he took him a while to get it together as a player, and it's taken a while to get it together as a coach. And he always was kind of like he was a snob, stuck up, but he always name dropped. Kind of had some of that game in him too. He will name drop. But okay, if you call it a Bay thing, I don't know. I just thought it was a crackhead move. They weren't gonna win the game. And Paul Pierce was wide right on the shot. So it's one of the most unprofessionalist things I've ever seen. But I wasn't surprised coming from him. And I don't know how his coaching career is going to turn out. But if you ask me right now, as a head coach, being honest, he's a never was. With bum potential, though, because he got potential to be a bum. Because he can be good, I think. But I don't know. I really don't know with him. I don't know. I think he's got a chance to be. I do. What did he say? Because I was getting at it, but what did he say? Oh, I'm glad because White Chocolate Wood. I'm glad he did. Give me the gist of it because I was going to peep it out, but I didn't finish it. I did my video about Windhorse where he went on AI. And at first I was kind of like, maybe he might. But the more I thought about it, now he was. The reason why I switched is because I thought about Iverson's game and I thought about the way Kyrie can score, the way some other guys can score. I said, well, no, Iverson, depending on who he playing with. He playing with Joel Embiid, he won't score no 41, but he could definitely get 25 to 30. But if it's him and Maxey, and the way offenses is today, the way Jason Tatum and Jalen go rotate, yeah, he could go get it. He could definitely go get it. It's different today. I'll have to peep it out, but yeah, because white chocolate, because I'm gonna tell you why. So I'll tell you a story. Back when Jay Will was balling, white folks love some Jay Will. Okay. And I actually had a couple of them come up and say, y'all can keep your Iverson. We got our Jay Will. He ain't lying though. Compared his neck to his shooting. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. But yeah, white folks love Jay Will, man. They came at me, said, y'all can keep your Iverson. We got Jay Will. That's how big Jay Will was for a moment. Except when he started throwing those erratic passes in Sacramento, and then he got dealt. Because like he couldn't play no defense. Had handles and could throw some nasty passes, but his shooting was off. And if he ever started turning the ball off, he was frustrating. But I'm glad he got a ring with Miami. Yeah, ain't nobody trying to hit with one. The old horse, win horse, better just stick to slurping LeBron's cattle. That's it. But I don't mind white on white crime. Now, so don't diss me no more. Don't diss me on my Tyler Hero stuff no more. There you go. Don't diss me no more. There you go. You answered three. You were wondering where I was. There you go. Yeah, he do. Yeah, he do. Yes. Tyler better shooter. Tyler got hops. And Tyler got some handle, but he ain't Jay Will. And he get too often times get caught being cute and don't play full court basketball. And then he gets in his ISO, and then he turns the ball over, or and then he gets some freakish injury. Just something that always gets in the way. But yeah, he do. Oh yeah, that's a great call there. If Tyler Hero ever gets bigger or gets uh if it ever becomes anything, I might do a video about that, but I won't though. What's happening? How you doing now? Good to see you, C81. Thank you. He was mentally tough, but the problem with him is that he was reckless too. Cause he could, like he give it a ooh and a ah, but he get took too. And then and that's what hurt him. Handles was sick. Elbow pass stuff he did, could move. What's up? What's up? Yep. Cottage 81, give him much love, give a salute. But that's the only thing to have with Jay Will. But yeah, if Tyler Hero could play like him, oh, white folks would be. They wouldn't even that. I bet foreign white boys might be banned. Adam Silver might be like, okay, no more white entrance. If you're not from America, no entrance. No, no. I don't even know what that means. So I don't know who you are, but what's up? And please introduce yourself. But anyway, yeah, J Will was definitely influential. But I haven't seen no, no. Reeves can shoot a little bit. No, I can't do nothing with this. I got to get out of this. It's got to go. Can't have that kind of stuff on this phone. Yeah, it's done. Can't have it on here. And I'm not condoning. If you smoke joints or if you do something, that's one thing. And if it comes in a conversation, it's something that you do, which I don't do. But if you do something, that's one thing. But I can't be having people talking like that because this ain't the hangout for that. But there are other forms for that. So base, you want Austin Bieber. You funny. Well, it was Austin Bryant. Wasn't it Kobe Reeves? What, he like country Kobe? Remember? Like I forgot. You think I forgot? You think I forgot what they used to call Reeves? That's what Reeves Island said. Um, Probably in the 15 to 23 slot, something like that. Hillbilly Kobe. I know it was one of them. Same thing. Billy Bob Kobe. I don't see it. Anything Reeves reminds me of a broke Kyle Cover. In another era, he would have been a specialist. Cause okay, you always be asking me questions about role players. Yeah, he is a role player, and the Lakers making him into a starter, and he ain't really. I don't really know what to make of him because he can't play no defense, and don't let nobody have no wheels because he gets his strings tied up, literally. That's my take about Breeze. Underachieved, great stats, but between the Chargers and the Saints, he should have had a couple more runs. A steak. Okay. I'll let you. Hayward was better though, but uh, Reeves gimmicky. It's one of them kind of white boys that if it was someone like Shaq or a great center or a great team, he would be annoying. But he ain't annoying because he ain't memorable. You know, like Dellavedova, that was LeBron's sidekick, was annoying, and how he annoyed Steph in that 2015 finals. But Dellavedova wasn't much of a scorer, but he was annoying. That's what the white boy is. Yeah, he should have kept his butt in Utah. Thank you. Could have kept his butt in Utah because he been on a milk carton after he left Utah. We don't know nothing in Boston. We do have we are on social media, right? Because I don't know nothing about him in Charlotte. I'm telling you, what happened to him? He on a milk carton. See, y'all gonna tell me more stories about him. He on a milk carton in my world. I ain't really paid that turkey no mind since 2018. I'm just keeping it 100. He was good, but he should have been more. Should have kept his butt in Utah. He been a milk carton on him since. Yeah, and I even and see yeah, and he ain't what they need either. He ain't what they need. He's not what they need. He's not what they need. He ain't it. Well, I wish he was underrated, but I haven't felt him in so long. I like I said, because he was a good sidekick, but he was not that dude. But he looked good. Probably if he goes to the local supermarket and get some Lay's potato chips like anybody else, that's probably about the chip he'll get. He ain't get no chip with no legit team. Is he going to Denver? They ain't gonna need him. Nah, no. At this stage, I don't see no one breaking their neck to get him. And yeah, it's true. You go get some bag of chips. That's about chips he gonna get. He one of them guys that maybe this was 5 or 6 years ago. Oh God, I almost forgot about him still being in the league. That's how bad he done fell off. Really. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I gotta, you want me to be uncut and keep it real. I'm gonna keep it 100. I forgot all about him. I'm not lying. See, some of these guys who were good, who had some moments, but then they fell off and they never came back on. And the NBA needs a bad white boy. No, he ain't. That's an insult. He Let me tell you something about Nick Collison. I lived in Seattle. Nick Collison was a 30, played that team for 30 years and probably averaged 1.8 a year. You got some videotape on some white folks. Don't be surprised if Nick Collison ends up being the local governor or the mayor. So you didn't see that video with LeBron with Jeannie Buss and Mark and Kurt Rambis' wife, right? Don't be surprised if Nick Collison's wife be sitting next to some owner and get some hookup. Cause I don't know what the white boy did. He sat there longer. He longer tenured OKC player. Now tell me what Nick Collison done to merit longer stint than Westbrook and Durant. I'm like, what did he do? He got some video out here. I'm like stumped. Cause I remember him riding the pine in Seattle. he rode the pine in OKC. I had a buddy. We used to clown Nick Collison. We cracked up. It's like, are y'all for real? Oh, white privilege is something special. Oh, Lord, tell you something. Let me tell you. Yeah, because he played better defense. He played better in the team concept. Who was a bum? Amari was a more athletic dude, but once you get past his athleticism, his game didn't lend itself to much off of drop steps, shooting and move. Paul Gasol had inside, outside, could pass, could rebound, could defend. Amari wasn't a good defender. He wasn't no bum. He never was. To call him a bum is a highlight. That's a highlight reel. Wouldn't he call us a highlight reel to you? I wish he was a bum. He was like I never was. His jersey never got dirty. I bet when they had laundry day, Nick, just put your jersey up there and let it air dry from soak and sweat and practice. Come on now. Come on. And then I think about it, I'm like, oh, God, this guy was around 12, 13 years. What did he do? You know, maybe I give him maybe in practice because I didn't see it in the game. I told you he had air dried clothes. But he didn't play hardly nothing. I don't know what he did. Yeah, I got to take Paul over him, though. Paul was more versatile. Amari was a better athlete, but Paul was a better basketball player. There's a difference. Amari had that 1.5 years in Phoenix. I'll give you that. 05, 06 or so. But he never got any better than that. And when they brought Shaq in and they couldn't play half court against San Antonio, he wasn't much of a factor. So Amari was one of those guys that talent-wise, he got better, but he didn't really add it to his skills repertoire. So, because we don't even talk about his New York Knicks era. He was in them fashion modeling. What about him? Coaching? Hubie moved me more. Hubie, you know. But Flip had some success, though. Flip had some success. And unfair to compare. Well, it's not just the rings. He was more versatile. He could shoot inside out. He could actually play with or out the rock. Amari had better skills, but he couldn't do what Paul could do. Paul was when Paul came to the Lakers, I'm sure they were like clapping their pinky toes. Flip had some success. Hubie was and again, that's two different eras too. Yeah, he did. He got out coached a lot, doing dumb stuff. Hard nose, but didn't have an understanding of the nose. That's what hurt him. So, don't really, and that's a kind of an odd comparison too, because Hubie was from a different era, and they come from two different trajectories of coaching. They do. Flip could relate to it, but it couldn't really, and Hubie was more structural. But QB is also contradictory too, because I'm gonna tell you why. Usually, if a cat could talk and articulate like Huey Brown, they'd offer him like 15 jobs like tomorrow, but they ain't offered him that. He's up there playing Scrabble on the sidelines, doing crossword puzzles, doing timeouts. So they sat him down. But yeah, yeah, I gotta say Paul Gasol. You know, but yeah, that Nick Collison thing was hilarious, though. I'm not even gonna lie. No, he was all right. He was all right. You're trying to really. Man. I'm gonna say Spo, and I'm gonna tell you why. Obviously, everybody says you can win with great players. True that. But then what happens when you take Jimmy Butler and Bam to 2 finals, and Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and those guys, and you change your whole style because it went from Miami Heat defense, what have you, to a whole different flip. So Spo, obviously, very underrated quality. I don't think Larry Brown could adapt from going from a more because he adapted because the Heat went to 2 finals with Jimmy Butler and Bam, and they beat a better Boston Celtic team. And this is the other thing. Even Paul Pierce, who's Mr. Pro Celtic and all that, everybody and they daddy know Boston does not want to see Miami in the playoffs. I don't care if they are trying to know Jason Tatum as an MVP or Jalen getting paid and all that. Nobody wants to see them Heat. That's the mark of great coaching. And Spo didn't beat Milwaukee. But let me go back to this. The 2 finals runners up against the Lakers and Denver. Yeah, they lost and all that. But you took Jimmy Butler, Bam. You took guys. I don't know too many coaches that could have gone to the finals with what a guy who I consider is in the really good to very good, but I don't call him great in Jimmy Butler. And Bam, who's an undersized center forward, who's undersized, but you know, Pat Riley. Because Pat is physical condition. One in LA, one in Miami, and took New York to the finals. He took 3 different teams. Larry Brown took 2 different teams with the same structure. Now, Larry Brown is a great X's and O's dude and rides you, but Pat Riley got style, gets so much out of his players, and it carries crazy weight. So yes, it's Pat Riley. That's a good question, Ted. But I got Riley open. I got Riley. And I got Spo. I don't think Larry Brown could have gotten Jimmy Butler and them to the finals. I just don't. Spo done showed me a lot. Post LeBron, post D Wade, post Bosh. You know. Well, Ted, who's your favorite Met? Of all times, of all times. And my best Muhammad Ali was of the greatest of all times. New York Mets. That is a tough question. That's very tough because oh, if he had played it all the way out, that would have said the same thing about Dwight Gooden. Had they all played it, and they would have been a tie for me. That would have been the best of both worlds, offense and defense, if they both played it out. Because Gooden was that dude. Strawberry would have been to Bonds like Gooden would have been to Clemens. Okay, it just didn't play itself out. That's the sad part. We never got it all the way. Yeah, they won with the Yankees. I know that was rare, but they wasn't. Them guys were projected to be first ballot. If you'd have been around 84, 85, 86 when they won the Mets won, you'd have said, oh, those guys are shoe-ins. If you watch Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee, when Mookie was saying the greatest pitcher in baseball today is Dwight Gooden. So, but anyway. I know I'm going to probably have to say Tom Seaver if I was going to answer that question. He'd be one of them for sure. Tom Seaver. But I don't know. Ain't nobody gonna say Keith Hernandez. Brown's one of the 15, 16 greatest coaches ever. He's in that he's top 15, 16, you know. He great. That was trying to intimidate. That's what that was. Because I'm like, I'm your daddy. And he figured if I give him some chin music, he ain't gonna smirk at me. Because I bet Piazza was talking trash and Roger wasn't going for it. But Clemens had that old redneck in him. So, but anyway, that's why I come down with Larry Brown, great coach. You just happen to ask me against Riley, and then you ask me against Spo, and I do think Spo has passed him up in the sense that he took this team to 2 finals. That's a heck of impressive to beat better talented Celtic teams, because win or lose, Miami has been one of the more dominant teams of the past decade getting to the finals in a post LeBron James, D Wade, Bosh era. Says a lot about Coach Spo. Says a lot. And now he's Kerr just got the highest paid and Spo had gotten a big one, but Spo can be there for 10 more years easily. 5, 10 easy. So, yeah, if you ask somebody who their greatest Mets is, that's kind of a loaded, tricky one. He had him in Miami, but Dwayne Wade was the one that was fueling the fire. He had him, but they both needed each other to win. Shaq needed a guy like Riley to stay on him because they had something to prove, and that's why he brought him to Miami. And Riley needed Shaq because he needed a big time marquee player that would complement what he was doing as far as Miami Heat basketball. So that worked out perfectly. When they each got that ring, that was like a sigh of relief. Not because they needed it, but because people in the media will be, media is about basketball. If Shaq didn't win without Kobe, they'd be like, you couldn't win without him. And if Riley couldn't win without Magic, they'd be like, you couldn't win without him. It's kind of like when Steph Curry had to get that finals MVP. And now he's solidified top 10 by a lot of people. So the NBA has some strange requirements. No other sports has those same requirements. Baseball, you never have to win no chip to be considered the GOAT. Football, it's debatable. Chips work in some cases, sometimes they don't. Obviously, if you got a couple. Yeah, I was too. Zoe was the heart and soul of Miami, so I was glad of that. And Gary, because long-term great player, glad he got that ring on his finger. And he fit in Miami too. So I was glad. I was glad for all them cats. But I know Riley and Shaq were really feeling vindicated. I'm telling you. Really. And that era of Dwayne Wade was as great as almost as anything I've seen the last 15 years. He was incredible. So, yeah, Twan did his shimmy. Came up big. James Posey, too. Don't forget about Posey. He was the broke rabbit Ori, the junior whopper Ori for a moment. Five. Because 4 with the Lakers and 1 with Miami. He did get to the finals with the Knicks, but 5. Because I got to put in, general manager, he's 1, 2. Yeah, Haslam was nice. And turned out he got a nice outside shot as he got older. Yeah, he was. He was always loved Udon. Udonis was the glue. Always. Okay, let me ask you this. No, he ain't overrated. No. You don't win no 7 Super Bowls and 10 trips and be overrated. You don't figure out how to go against defenses and structurally make it work in 2 different organizations, and also just improve yourself, your um, psychological The man, he always pretty fine tuned. Pretty fine tuned. You can make the case in all the Super Bowls and the ones that he lost, he had a chance to win. They had a chance to win both those Giants ones. Now, that one pass may have been a little bit over Wes Walker's head. I don't know. Can you bring that ball in? I don't know. But the Philadelphia game he had a chance to win too. Could have lost some, but he was a clutch guy. I can't emphasize enough how Brady was clutch as he was. He came up big, and he came up big. I'm not gonna take nothing away from him. That's the toughest position to play in football. If you think I'm lying, tell me who your team is and if your quarterback is measuring up to Tom Brady. And chances are they're not. Just saying. Because he had the mental fortitude. Well, if Brady's overrated, and what's that make Bill Belichick? I think you got your answer. Not hardly. Not hardly. He really was real meticulous, and he got better with time. I was impressed. You talking about Kellerman? Yeah, Max Kellerman said that for like 30 years, and then how that turned out, and they let him go. I mean, Brady was on his own cliff. He was a bad boy. Only pet peeves is that they sometimes make some cats wait longer than others. One thing Skip Bayless said that I do agree with is true. If you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. And you shouldn't have to wait 30, 50 years. Like, I know when I tell you about the magic wand, Patrick Mahomes, I don't need to wait 5 or 6 years to say he's the GOAT or where he belongs. It's there. It's there. It's like Tiger Woods, Serena Williams. You can name certain people. You don't need to wait to the end of their career or near to say, hey, they was this. You can see it. Some people, if someone's got it, I'm sure there was somebody probably about 50 years ago saw Michael Jackson and said, hey, that kid's got it. He gonna be one of the greatest ever. Because sometimes you just know. You just know. Some other people take a little work, a little time. Some others, hey, it's there. Some people just got it. I tell this story all the time because I'm pretty accurate on that. I ain't bragging, just a fact. First time I saw Kobe Bryant, I saw him smiling with Brandy. And I don't know what it was about his smile, but I said, oh, that guy. I had a buddy of mine laugh at me. I said, oh, yeah, he going to be something. I said, something about the way he looked. It's his smile. And I use it on equate a smile with you being raw and mean, but I just had a feeling about him. Sometimes I just sense things. I sensed that about Mahomes. Came out of college. I mean, when he came out of college and Andy Reid got him, I said, there's something about him. I just didn't know it was going to be like that. But I knew. I thought that way about Lamar, too. Sometimes it's just a mental psychic about certain people that set you. I knew LeBron was going to be special. Dwayne Wade caught my attention in the 04 playoffs against Indiana. I saw his ball motion and movement. I said, oh, okay. Caught him. I said, okay. And if I catch you early on in your career, I can almost sense it. When I saw Curry shooting some long shots, it's against the Lakers, and I saw Dwight Howard's face go. He had this look, and I thought, okay, you ain't seen that before. So, Peyton Manning, come on, man. Come on now. Now, Brees did the same things, except Peyton had a higher degree because Peyton was a better winner, had a better reception of the field, had bigger fish to fry, bigger games, bigger matchups. Brees is like a junior whopper of Peyton Manning. That's not even close. That's not even close. And I wasn't even like the biggest Peyton Manning fan like I done it, but come on, it's not even close. Come on now, Big Ben, come on now. More clutch. However, if Russell win that Super Bowl against New England, I'm laughing at you for even answering that. But without that Super Bowl, and then his career wasn't the same. At least Big Ben's can always say, look, I came up short against the Patriots in the AFC Championship games or something like that. Russell ain't had so much that same luck. And Big Ben, even though he could have probably retired about 3 or 4 years, because he probably was past the pull date about 4 or 5, actually Russell could have gone at the same time. So tell me what you agree. Uh the thing is that Big Ben had more clutch moments, big games, came up big, and he fit. Russell is talented, but like I said, you got some people out here on these streets who don't think he's a Hall of Famer anymore. I still think he is, but I think if he has another stinker year like he did 2 years ago, or he goes somewhere and he don't really come up big, if he's mediocre or below, yeah, they'll just look at him as a systematic quarterback. Ben was great. He's the best quarterback in Steeler history, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't even like the guy, but I'll take him over Terry Bradshaw. He's 2-1 in Super Bowls. I'll take him over Bradshaw. He was a better athletic, more consistent player. And he had what I call a tier below of what Bradshaw had for his talent. But you give Big Ben, Swan, Star, Franco, Rocky, and that defense, he probably got about 5 rings, 6 rings, and they wouldn't be up for discussion in. Now, would he be considered one of the greatest? Would he be considered higher on the tier list? Depends on how he kept his interceptions down, the things that he did. But he was, I used to cringe when people ask me about Big Ben versus Eli Manning. I'm like, come on now. That's not funny. But yeah, that's why Russell can't get too many discussions, because that one Super Bowl loss, that took him out of a lot of conversation. And he never was the same after it. Oh, he had a couple good years after, but it was never the same. He wins that Super Bowl with 2 rings. Hines Ward was bad, but I'd take John Starworth for 1,500, Alex, because Hines Ward was tight for his era, but Starworth was a whole nother level. They Antonio Brown is like probably the close. I take AB over Hines, but I don't even know if AB could hang with Starworth. Not the stretch. Versatility, yeah, but not the stretch. Starworth could stretch a field like so few. Yeah, that's all I'm trying to say. Bradshaw had a better squad easily on offense, easily, than Big Ben did. Jerome Bettis is bad. Now, the Jerome Bettis Franco Harris debate, that's a good one. That's a good strong one right there. But Plexico Burris against Lynn Swan, I think Swan's gonna win. Plexico came up big, but he didn't get utilized right. But the offenses is too different, and they had a more dominance with that steel curtain, more dominant. So, but anyway, I just want to keep it on the topic. Yeah, Big Ben got Russell beat, as far as I'm concerned. And again, if Russell had won that ring against New England, we're having a different discussion. And as a matter of fact, he beat, even with 2 rings against Big Ben, his 2 rings would be like the equivalent to 3 or 4, because he was athletic, he could move, he had agility. Most disliked, Romanowski, because anytime someone used saliva, I got problems. I can't answer that right now because we're not in. I have to see who's healthy, and I have to see where if Derrick Henry goes anywhere. If I'm going to play right now, I'd probably tell you Houston. If Jacksonville doesn't do anything but Trevor Lawrence, you know what I'm talking about. If Trevor Lawrence comes back looking mediocre like he did at the end of the season, and Doug Peterson doesn't tighten him up, then Houston wins. But if they come out with some drive and some force and a foot in their behind the right way, Jacksonville. But it's gonna be out of them too. We'll see what happens with Indianapolis next year. They should be interesting. But right now I'm leaning towards Houston. I'm leaning because I think CJ got something. But then again, him and Trevor Lawrence are both early in their careers. But if Trevor Lawrence don't get out of that turnover machine boat and they don't start luring to sleep and they don't play consistent, then that's problematic. Romanowski is one of them. Oh man, there's a ton of guys I didn't couldn't stand. I mean, God, where do I begin? Yeah. I like the energy. God. Dislike. I mean, um, I respected him. I respected him. I think that he got a lot out of what he was doing. Um, he worked hard. You know, he worked hard. If didn't like him for political reasons, you know, like if you want okay, why don't you just ask me anything NFL related? Then I'll tell you Jerry Jones, and I'll tell you the New York Jets owner, Woody Johnson. Then I'll tell you um, most of the owners in NFL. That's what I'd rather like to tell you. Players, it's kind of hard. Mike Dick, I don't like personally. Marcus Spears, because he be tap dancing. I mean, I watch him up there with, I still don't, I mean, he's all right. I don't know how he got the gig. He's all right. Um, when you say figures, are you talking about like owners? I don't like Roger Goodell, as you know. He ain't nothing but a puppet, and he's a lying piece of trash. Sent up there with Jay Z fronting, jive turkey. Um, I don't like most of the owners. I think most of them are racist. There you go. I think they are racist. You can put some Black Lives Matter in the end zone, but you won't get black owners. Put some Black Lives Matters in the end zones and stickers, but you don't want black general managers. Put Black Lives Matters and you won't break Kaepernick come back. Talk about Black Lives Matter and you still up there taking endorsements for Trump. I don't want to hear anything they gotta say. I love the game, but I don't love the game. Okay? NFL fan, but I'm not a fan of their condescending, contradictory ways. He's a token owner. He's a token. He ain't got no say about no real dude. That dude, that one cat's got the real ownership. Magic is just as a token prize. Probably like 15, 20%. They buy him up. He ain't gonna be into the details. All times? Like I like all times? You talking all times or you talking recent? Because I can, it can go back and forth. I can tell you. There's a lot of them. I mean, obviously, because remember I grew up when, hip hop was in its early days, heyday of the 90s. I think as more and more time goes by, than because I had a video I did when Nelly came out and said his era with the O's was the toughest. I'm like, yeah, I mean Q-Tip, but I like Dr. Dre, I like Snoop, I like Run DMC, I like Houdini, liked LL Cool J, Kumo D, Ice T, DJ Quick, um, Digital Underground, Scarface. Definitely liked recent. Well, Outkast was my last favorite. You must know. Loved Outkast. Recent is Kendrick Lamar. Even though I can't put Kendrick in the same vein with Ice Cube, I don't think he's had the album run. But Kendrick, J. Cole was cool. Yep. Yeah, Ted, you covering all the ones that I think matter because I mean that's the heyday of it. That is really the heyday. Let's say from 84 to about 2008 when Lil Wayne. So if you go from like LL to Lil Wayne, hmm because Drake and stuff. Listen, I'll tell you like this. Most of the cats that I'm hearing, like the Little Yachty, all that doing that old sleepy mumble rap was horrific. Okay, her mumble rap era was horrific, and sleepy slow butt rapping. You know, obviously when I talk about Bone Thugs and Harmony. All right, right. What's up, basketball goat? 50, credible. Until the Mace thing tripped me out. But when he first came out, How to Rob in '99, he was a different rapper when he worked with M and Dre. But he's good, good, not great, but good. My starting five. Well, I don't care what nobody says. This is my starting five: Shaq, Tim Duncan, and it is subjective to change if I wanted to. But that's my Shaq, Tim Duncan, Larry Bird, Jordan, Magic, or Depending on my mood, Shaq, Duncan, Larry Bird, Jordan, Steph Curry. Magic probably come off my bench with Kareem and Wilt. So I probably would put Steph. I will. I say Steph, Jordan, Bird, Duncan, Shaq. There I go. For now. Subjective to change, but that's how I feel. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we differ about LeBron. I gotta put Larry Bird for me. I gotta have Larry Bird. I like Bird more. But anyway, 50, uh, good. And I like some stuff he did. Yeah, I that's not a bad. I mean, yeah, we only differ about the only thing we differ on is Braun. I take Larry Bird. That's all. Other than that, but there's no arguments. Everybody's entitled to their opinions about stuff. All depends. And like I said, sometimes my stuff is subjective to change. To me, he is because he had a longer body of work. I lived in Houston in the 80s. I remember when Hakeem had Ralph Sampson. And for a while, I thought Hakeem was going to get traded. Shaq was 3 different players. In Orlando, he was like Giannis. In LA, he got more beast mode. And then when he got to Miami, he was like a hybrid. But he had 3 different eras in his career. Olajuwon was a more athletic. I'm going to tell you this. Olajuwon was the most athletic centers I've ever seen. But Wilt Chamberlain had this book, Who's Running the Asylum, and they asked him about the two, and he said he couldn't trust Hakeem mentally. That's what he said in the book. You have to read it. It's called Who's Running the Asylum, and I would listen to that. But I didn't think that Hakeem, when he did win over Shaq, which a lot of people like to talk about 95, it wasn't like he did it by himself. Shaq still put up 27 points. The difference was that Shaq didn't have the right coach, didn't have the system, and Olajuwon was better at the time. But if we go by body of work, peak to peak, prime to prime, it ain't even close. Shaq got him beat. I would debate that with anybody. Shaq's window, prime and peak, is as great as anybody who's ever played the game. That's why I hold Shaq in high regard as I do. I ain't stutter. Because his prime and peak meant what? Team was winning. They were dominant. He was going to be finals MVP. And he was a force. So not too many people are seeing that. Not too many people are seeing that. We can nitpick about this guy having this or that. And also, let me just put it, and let me bring in the elephant in the room. Shaq never had a point guard when he was in his peak, in his prime. He never had a point guard. Imagine that. Imagine how even more dangerous he would have been with a point guard. So, take that in consideration. But that doesn't take away that, I'm not taking anything away from Wilt, because Wilt's like Babe Ruth. He's his own stat category. I call him stat category. Because Wilt is stat category. That's what I call him, the stat category. He's his own stat category. And Kareem, he's his own branch. Because he did incredible. And Bill Russell, the statue. And that's why you can put them 4 guys as 4 of your greatest players. He is. I'm not arguing, but he got to win the ring. He got to win the finals. And he probably need a league MVP. And if he does all that, then yeah, there's no doubt after that. Give him 2 rings, 2 finals MVPs, and another regular season MVP. Yeah. Well, because then when you factor in the all-time triple doubles list, and then he's going to go up in points and rebound, all that. Yeah. Because Jokic is quietly a threat to LeBron James. The way his vision is and all the stuff he do, I mean, he's creepy. He ain't just creeping, he's creeper. Talent-wise, yes. Overall, for what you could get, no. They don't win in San Antonio without Tony Parker. Barron, I like Barron. Barron was one of my favorite players. Athletic, could move, could shoot, and all that. But Tony Parker was low-key on his defense. Barron was a more talented player. See, it depends when you ask certain questions about certain people. I have to like break it down because sometimes people say, well, because it's like when I got asked about Stephon Marbury against Ginobili. Better in terms of skill, but of who I want on my team, I want Tony Parker. Who do I want on my team? Out of I want Tony Parker. Better fit. Barron was an athletic. Barron was actually like a precursor to CP3, if you must know. And but except he had more spring in his behind. But he got hurt and he had that ego, and then he kind of played himself out. But kind of similar to that, because had he been healthy and gone on, because I remember when he put that wood to Dirk when Golden State beat Dallas in '07. He put that wood to the hind to the side. But yeah. But Tony Parker gets unfairly treated. He was clutch and instrumental. Ask Damian Lillard about Tony Parker. 2014. Go look up the highlights and give it to me. If you never seen that second round, that 8-0 start that game, Portland played San Antonio second round. Ask him about what Tony Parker did to his behind. And Damian Lillard ain't really changed much since then. I'm not talking about that. Tony Parker held his own as a scorer, held his own. He was a finals MVP in '07 against Cleveland. We're not talking about somebody who he won a finals MVP. He gets conveniently overlooked. You know, he came up big. And Pop rode him hard too. Rode him hard. Rode him hard. So, I remember. I remember. Remember, they were actually going to consider making that swap for Tony Parker for Jason Kidd, but they came to their senses. Jason gave you more style, but but Tony gave you the grit. So, but yeah, Ted, you're right. I'm not arguing that. I remember. There's some good questions though. Not gonna argue. And I did like Baron Davis, but I have to give Tony Parker his due because some people act like where you and Morris. I don't. I don't. I don't. Most of us don't. Yeah, he came out of high school, and he had a really good run, and he had a couple years where he looked like something, but you know, he's kind of forgotten. I mean, he was in Phoenix at that era. Yeah, if you go back 20 years ago, so if I go like the '05, '06 Amari, that one looks like he was headed towards something, but it didn't last long. It really didn't. So he doesn't really rank. I mean, if we were having a 25 more greatest basketball players, the top 100, he ain't in it. So before you ask, he ain't. If that's what you're asking me, no. If you're asking me, does he fit in the really good, very good category? I'll tell you, yeah. I'll give you that, but not great. No, no, no. I mean, Devin Booker done got more of his career than Amari has in Phoenix, style wise. I know it's two different positions, but I'm just saying. But yeah, I never said he wasn't. But Barron was a good player. And he had spring and he could move. It's just that injuries and he got moved around too much. And then you kind of forget about him to a certain extent. So, but I like Barron. I like Barron. Never said I didn't. Some people think that because when you debate somebody that you don't like them or because you don't hold them in the same regard or you got to do that. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that I didn't. So just have to clarify. Ray Allen. Vince was a woulda, coulda, shoulda. Now, if both guys play to their full potential and you get the all of it out, Vince Carter in a blowout. But Vince never got to that full ring. I had to give Gilbert Arenas the credit on that one, and I don't give Gilbert too much because he uses like Kanye West with his opinions on stuff. But Vince, um, he's the woulda, coulda, shoulda, you know. But Ray was a better version to me of Reggie Miller, and came a big, clutch, versatile, underrated hops too. Remember the game one against the Spurs in the 2014 finals, coast to coast dunk. If you don't remember, go look it up. That caught me off guard. He went there. You know, no, heck no, no. He's a more, he could say consistent to an extent, not a greater shooter. No. Steph scared folks. Steph changed the course of games. Ray didn't change the course of games. When a guy can can make players positionless, you can't compare the two. Ray was a great traditional 3-point shooter who could catch and shoot and athletic. My top five would be. I hate doing these things because it's just it's it's your choices. Oh, I probably say Magic, Kareem, Jordan, Bird, or I say no. Magic, Kareem, Jordan, Shaq, Duncan. Yeah, that's my top five. I can't put LeBron at number one. Just don't see it. He's not better than Michael Jordan, and he's not better than Kareem. To me, he's not in their orbit. Just saying. Yeah, I can. I'll explain. If you want me to know why I pick who I pick, Elgin Baylor was great. He was a freak. He was an absolute beast. They just didn't win. When that one year he retired, they won. But his athleticism, his ability to go to the hole, his handles, incredible. Could shoot. You know, guys back then, yeah, guys back then who could score 25, 30 points with no 3-point line, had to do with hand checking, had the physicality, and was in the box. Believe me, that guy in another era, they be talking about him in a whole nother context. Yeah, he did. What you want to talk about it? He did. A lot of stuff didn't get recorded because they didn't keep the same files that they did. Like Wilt Chamberlain's block shots didn't get credited. You know, a lot of stuff got whitewashed and changed. But you imagine a guy scoring 38 points with no 3-point line. And he could finger roll, he could fade away, he could shoot inside out, go all over the rim. Come on. You know. He's Oscar Robinson's GOAT, by the way. And I think Dr. J holds him high on his regards too. I mean, you couldn't go wrong if you mentioned him. You know. That's one of the things I kind of hate about List, because I got guys who are first tier, but because he didn't win a ring, that work against him. But if you go by guys who didn't, oh, very much so. And he turned a lot of white folks off because he talked trash. But Rick Barry's got like that undocumented book that he tells you how the game should be, and they don't like that. He's what I call a sober version of Bill Walton. Now, but if he plays 2 more years and look like he did in Denver, he will be. I know because of the defense, Legion Boom was huge, but he had his moments, and he was clutch. And it wasn't like he couldn't throw the deep rock. It wasn't like he couldn't come up big. He won that game against the 49ers when they got to the Super Bowl. Because a lot of people seem to forget that, Kaepernick threw that interception that Sherman got against Crabtree. Russell came up big in that game. He did. He did. Like I said before, in the pantheon of great white players, he never gets mentioned after Bird as much as Jerry West does. And I understand that. But Rick Barry was a bad boy. Cat could shoot from the corner. Put it to you like this. Yeah. Put it to you like this. Imagine him right now with Golden State with Steph. Even right now. And Rick Barry was a better version of Klay Thompson. Oh, yeah. He was. First 8 years in Seattle. Very underrated, too. Black, too. That's a whole different matter. Adrian Down is the only guy I ever seen who, how Carmelo would stand at the free throw line and you had to count when he wanted to, and Giannis does it too. Dantley did that when he was dribbling. He'd go counter, he'd go to the square circle, and he would wear you down because he had so many dribbles and he would wear a 24-second clock out. And he would get his shot and do it how he wanted. I have not seen too many people. He wasn't the fastest cat, but he had a pace about him that you couldn't fade. Yep. Well, what Zeke wanted was to get his boy Mark Aguirre in. That's all that was. That wasn't bucking. That was to get Mark Aguirre in. That's what that was. Him and Mark Aguirre. And Dantley was one of those cats that, he I don't put buck dancing with Zeke. He just didn't get along with him and he wanted Mark Aguirre in. Because they're already a very black team. They did. They did. They did. Zeke wanted people to conform, and AD wasn't that dude. you know. But no one's going to talk about it. And it wasn't really something that was going to work against Zeke because at the time the Pistons had the formula for winning. That's why. That's why. Had they not been able to win without AD, then Zeke would have had some problems. But because of the fact that the powers that be in the NBA weren't the biggest Adrian Dantley fan, you talking about Anthony Davis or Joel Embiid? Your answer is Joel Embiid. Now, you ask me who's the more naturally talented, gifted player, it's AD. But if you're asking me who comes out and brings it with consistency, has made their game better, show leadership, it's Embiid. Well, after that, I want to say after Zeke, the team broke up. And they was, they got older. I know Two Raw didn't want to, say at that time, being 31, 32, 33 was considered old. At that time. And they had injuries because Zeke retired in 94. Injuries. Joe Dumas played longer, but the team wasn't the same. They had Rick Mahorn that got traded. Remember, he got let go. Well, AD in the bubble played great, but he got his growth stunted because after game 2 in the finals, he never been the same guy. He's looking good this year, but he's not consistent. And then you saw what happened the last 2 years. He's half-timey. Sometimes he plays great, sometimes he don't. Now, during the regular season, Joel Embiid is a beast. But the postseason process crap, he's sloth and he's slew-footed. And the jury's out. And will he get to the Giannis Jokic train of ring and fame? The jury's out. Okay? But now he's got Nick Nurse as a coach. So he's got nothing to do about. Yeah, he's inconsistent as all get out. Because Sabonis eats him up for breakfast. Jokic eats him up for breakfast. He don't want to be a big. He want to be a small. He want to be a small forward trapped in a 2-guard's body who happens to be 7 foot and don't want to put his behind on the brick. That's the problem. But yeah, he wants to hang in there and go and growl. But he really want to shoot outside and say Kobe and do all those antics. But he don't want to put the work in. That's one of the reasons why they struggle. Last night's a good example. If D-Lo don't come through, they getting their butts waxed because he was going ghost as he does. So you get 2 consistencies of him. He's either hurt or he's hurt in the head, and then he ends up being hurt in the butt. He sure did. Without him last night, they getting smashed because he wasn't stopping nothing. Yeah, he had a block against Giannis, but guess what? They still had a triple-double, and AD was a non-consistent. He's not a big in a traditional Laker big, okay? When LeBron is gone, gonna be garbage. Yeah, he came up big, but ain't nothing to get excited about. They got to play like near flawless, perfect basketball and outscore everybody and make a stop or 2 because they have no easy games against legit teams. That's their problem. That's one of the reasons why they are where they are. So, yeah, it was a good game for them, but you 5 games over 500 this late in the season, and you supposedly got 2 of the 15 best players in the league, so they keep trying to throw it at me when they probably AD might be 11 and LeBron might be 15 or 12 or something. But either way, they're not a good team. He's a fun player, but he don't play no defense. And if they go against somebody that can break ankles and run him, he ain't much to him. He's good in spurts. He benefits from this era of basketball. This era of basketball will let guys who are pretty much second, third tier guys look like they starters because they got guys who can hit some threes, hit some shots, hit some couple of corner J's, and get going. But if he has to go against certain cats like De'Aaron Fox every night or something like that, his butt gonna be riding the pine. Just keeping it 100. And for the record, they still looking to trade him. Don't get it twisted. Just because he scored that 44 last night and all that, on good authority, they'll take Trae Young and give D-Lo some and some Starburst packages and a Snickers bars right now. So this is just what we call a band-aid over boo-boo. Don't get excited. And I'm not hating on him because I give him his props. He ran himself out of LA before, and the fact that he can come full circle and he's gonna get a pension. He's he's gonna be, but he's a serviceable point guard. Let's not get it twisted. Just like Dennis Schroeder was. They get serviceable people because like they think, okay, we're gonna go after the big macaroni. That's what they're thinking. But everybody wants that white boy. See, that's the problem. You can give D-Lo away right now for some Skittles and a pack of gum. They want that white boy. So that's what's up. You know. He played, but that's the problem. They thinking of the future. They need more scoring options. They don't have pure scoring options. They don't. See, because that's the difference between a first tier, second, third tier. Yeah, when you're pretty bad, especially in a situation that if you're halfway all right, your team can look all right. What did Adam Silver say about Taylor Hero to make you say this sort of thing? Oh, I like them both a lot, but in different ways. I like Marbury's handles in his game, B. Diddy. I probably have to go with B. Diddy because Barron moved me. Barron had spring, and Barron actually showed like he wanted to do something in the postseason. That's the only problem I had with Starbury. Starbury became a coaching headache. Barron just got hurt a lot, but Barron moved me. I like Steph a lot, but he's got that New York playground guard syndrome. White boy got crossover already. What you mean? Spunk, I'll give you, but he white. What kind of crossover we talking about? He ain't black. I mean, if this Malibu's most wanted. Hold up, be right back. Hold up. Crossover. That's funny. I had to make that move real quick. I never said they weren't. Never said they weren't. You asked me who I thought who I would take. And Baron Davis showed me more. Marbury was a talented dude, but he was a bit too much on himself. And I just thought that Baron did a little bit more. Baron moved me more. I got more of a Baron Davis career moment when they beat. Okay, trolling. Okay. 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 I thank you, Ted. Because I'm about ready to go off. But I'll never forget the 07 playoffs Golden State against Dallas when he put the hips in Dirk. And he was undersized against Dirk. Barron got props for that forever. So anyway, but that's okay though. As long as you ain't a troll, we all right. You can troll, but don't be a troll. Um, Dirk, I think there's leadership. I think his leadership, especially when they won the finals, I think he really showed leadership. I think that was underrated. They never gave him enough. He's my number one point guard ever, and it's not popular to say. I put Magic as a greater player, and I put Magic as a GOAT. So I'll give Steph as a PG, but I'll give Magic as a greater player. That's how I do it. You can let Steph be number one PG, but I give me Magic as a better player and maybe the GOAT. That's how I feel. Because they both changed the game. They both had flashy teams. They both won in different ways. They both won with great players. And then they both won. They had to do things in less different capacities. They had to adjust. Why not? Played five positions, changed the course of basketball, brought the term Showtime to the Lakers. The gold Laker, as far as in my lifetime, the greatest Laker I ever saw. Could beat you in different ways. One of the few guys, the first guy I saw who could only score 2 points and could beat you in different ways. Assists, rebounds, maybe a steal, maybe a block. Hustle plays. Kept everybody accountable. Got Kurt Rambis. That's why Kurt Rambis' wife right now get to sit with the owner because of playing with Magic. I mean, he was a one-man band leader. He added 10 years to Kareem's career. Think about it. Who wouldn't want to play with a guy who could throw no look, go down the court, do all that? Well, let me ask you how old you are. Tell me. I'm just curious how old you are basketball go. Well, I'd say LeBron's also got a bit of Karl Malone in him. I say he's got a little bit of Shaq in him. If he played more in the post and bang, he'd be hard to guard as far as calls. LeBron's been influenced by quite a few people though. I see different people in him. The MJ, the Jordan one, that one, his movements, athleticism. The Magic because you'll think of the passing. The Karl Malone because of the coast to coast ferocity. The Shaquille because he's hard to. You really can't go. When he was playing in the box, he's one of the toughest guys to call on. I think Steph Curry's had an influence on LeBron too, because he didn't shoot them outside long type threes. I think the Steph influence is there too. That's the one that don't get talked about. That's why I got Steph ranked ahead of him, and that's why I got Steph so high on my list because Steph changed the course of these cats. A lot of these cats weren't shooting no threes like that. Now, you just look at it. Depends on how you look at stuff, but just saying, he's had an influence on the whole league. Are you kidding me? And I'm saying this to being honest. I'm not being funny. He's the most polarizing player. And when Shaq said the most polarizing player in the last 30 years since Jordan, at first he said, and I kind of and he said this about 3 or 4 years ago, and I thought, but then, yeah, he right. Because there ain't been no one else like him. You cannot, Victor comes out right now. Wemby comes out now. He got to shoot a three. And he's 7'7", almost pushing 8'2". I mean, come on now. Ask Ted what I think about Baker Mayfield. Listen, I will give him this year. He played, except for that game against Detroit, that last pick he threw. But old Faker, he has to. Now, playing behind, coming in Tom Brady's shoes, that's some big shoes. But let's remember the Rams, the Browns, Carolina, and now Tampa. 4 teams in the last 4 years. He better get on the job. I'll say this for Baker Mayfield. He's a better version of Mac Jones. He's a better version. A better version. He has some qualities that are good for him, but he's vastly overrated. Vastly. And they had all them commercials for him in Cleveland, all that lovey-dovey. And if he wasn't white, his butt would be gone almost. He's a better version of Johnny Manziel. Yes, I went there. because he's an upgraded version of him. But a lot of his career is not that memorable. And you know when ODB father had all that video showing that footage of him overthrowing his son, throwing behind him, and then ODB goes to Matthew Stafford and then with the Rams and wins the chip. How did that make Mr. Mayfield look? Just saying. So I call it as I see it. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. So you do him a service by even put him as rated. But right now he's very overrated. He did all right in Tampa, but he still looked bad in that Detroit game at the end. That pick wasn't that good. So you know. But yeah, BG, yeah, well, you asked me about Steph. I mean, I've been watching basketball long. I have not seen another person come along where he just changed the dynamics where we don't even care about what position you play. Well, that last drive where he threw that bad pick because he threw that pass and it got picked, and I was like, man, come on, come on. But you know, and it was actually a winnable possession for them if he, you know, I know he had a lot to prove this year because a lot of people didn't think he should have coming behind Brady too. Even though Brady was pushing 67, but still, Brady still got that team to the playoffs and stuff. And so, but what was he going to do? So he did all right. He did pretty good. But I'm not going to, I'm going to see what happens next year. I'm not going to get excited. He got lucky that the division was garbage too. Because Derek Carr didn't run that division like they thought he was. So anyway. But anyway, yeah, that's the thing I talk about. We talk about, yeah, some of these players, mm, I don't know. I don't know. Now I'm a Miami Heat fan, and I always got Jimmy Butler likes to turn it on, turn it off in the postseason. So you got to worry about them. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did. There ain't nothing that scares me. Who scares me? Who? Even if all systems go, even if the Knicks were healthy, who scares me in the East when Miami gets in the playoffs? Who? Doesn't matter about seeding. I don't trust Jason Tatum. Don't trust Brown. That law firm doesn't work. Porzingis is a good fit. I'll give you that, but they don't. They're not gonna come up. They gonna find a way to choke and not come up close. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Milwaukee, they ain't got the guard play no defense. I'm gonna see what Doc's gonna do making changes. Can Joel Embiid come back for Nick Nurse? Question marks. Will the Pacers ever learn any defense? Question marks. The Knicks, I don't know. But I didn't have them in there no way. But really, there you go. Yeah, he's a great manager. Great. You got 4 rings. Come on now. You know how hard it is to win 1 or 2? He's got 4. And Texas got a nice squad. He might get another one there. He might. That man came up big. Even though I still look at it as Houston's division pretty much. They've ran baseball the last decade, but yeah, they got one there. He's a real one. Yeah, but in the East, but I'll say this. I will say this for the East, BG. If Denver don't come out the West, the winner of the chip will be into the East. Because Denver's the only team in the West that I feel that should win. That's it. Anybody else that comes out the West, I don't like their chances against the East. I don't. Because I don't see nobody that can match that size, that agility, that height, that wingspan that Denver's got. So, yeah. The Nuggets, and that's it. I said 4 rings. That's why I said he's great. He got more. He great. Well, he won. He didn't. He won with the Giants. But what I'm saying is, wherever he goes, he's been great as a manager. That's the point. I think OKC is too young. I think Minnesota is kind of soft. Don't have enough depth, and that will be interesting how they address that in the offseason. I agree. But the Nuggets, to me, are the only team I see. Now, some people want to say the romanticized Phoenix, but um, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask. I don't know. The powers that be would love Denver and Philly in the finals, or Denver and Milwaukee, because any black and white Euro will be the next selling point for the next 2 or 3 years. You heard it here first. That's how I feel. They would love for Giannis against Jokic. They love Embiid against Jokic. They would love Giannis against Luka. Any black and white foreign battle. Deep down, they want Boston in there, but like I said, Jason Tatum is just they too soft. Too soft. That's the problem. So Dwayne Wade, not even close. Because aside from shooting that shot that Reggie got, he's not in Dwayne Wade's category. It ain't even close. Dwayne Wade is one of the greatest players ever. We talking top 25 argument. Reggie to me would be in the 52-70 range. It's not the same. I like Reggie for what he did, but Dwayne Wade was, come on. It's not even close. Well, the problem with KD is actually what you said. And he wasn't a leader. And that's the problem. Uh, if he led a team and came up big and he just started being one of the guys, I think that's the problem with KD's not getting. That's why he gets clowned by Charles Barkley or Shaq and them because he likes he's one of the guys. No, you're not. You're a special, unique force. You could be considered one of the five or so you could be considered one of the five or so greatest offensive forces ever. But you up here playing like you're one of the guys doesn't sell with what you're trying to say. Now you cry when people say you can't win without Steph, and you say, "Well, I got my 2 finals, I got my 2 chips, and I got a league MVP and a finals MVP and all-star game. How come you're not giving me no love?" Because you gotta have that leadership thing. And that's what makes him kind of like he gets salty and he doesn't like to be called out on it. And he's one of those guys. There's some people that think Dirk's better than him. And you can make a case. I don't know if he's the most skilled scorer. He's one of them, but I ain't gonna say the most skilled. I mean, he outside range and what he can do, but I'm not gonna say the most skilled. I'm not gonna say that. He's one of them. But that is only predicated on who he's playing with too. Like I said, I wish he did have some of Kobe's attitude or some of it didn't. It didn't. It didn't. I have to disagree right there, BG. And I'm one of the few people on these social media services will tell you that Golden State was the best thing that ever happened to his game. He never, if you ever been in a house in the summertime when you had the air conditioner on cool and you didn't have to adjust it to make it cooler, or you didn't have to turn it down because it was too cool, it was cool. That was him in Golden State. I would debate anybody on that. As a matter of fact, if he was still playing with Golden State and won multiple more rings, how would you argue against that? Because after what you've seen in Brooklyn, what you're kind of seeing now in Phoenix, he was Okay, let me get that just a second. He was comfortable with Steph and Clay. He was comfortable. He was like too cool for school. It's like he was just perfect. At the end, but people make a joke. Where has he played better basketball than that? Okay, top 10 point guards. Okay, we're gonna go Steph, Magic, Oscar Robinson, Isaiah Thomas, John Stockton, Gary Payton, that's 6. Jason Kidd, that's 7. You call it a cheat code, but I'm gonna tell you something. He ain't played better, as far as I'm concerned. He looked his most scariest, comfortablest. I have not seen the man look. He he was on an unconscious. Well, again, it depends on how old you are. See, they're great for their time, but I saw the '80s, the '90s, the '00s, and some other people have too. Some people saw the '60s before I did, and they saw some. I can't really say any '70s teams I would put. What made it '72? The Lakers that won all those games. I can make a strong case. They're great in a different way. We did this discussion last night when I talked about the Nuggets now because of the size with Michael Porter Jr. and with Aaron Gordon and Jokic and Murray. But they're not going to come off great in terms of statistical all the way because Jokic is like clearly the most dominant on that situation and Murray is like the quietest. But they win. They ways the way they win. They don't really dominate you, but they beat you. So they're very unique that way. But again, it comes down to how old you are and what you saw. It's hard for me to say who's a bet 1 year. I saw the 1 year wonder 83 Sixers with Moses Malone 444, and I saw Shaq and Kobe 01 look great. And I saw the Bulls, and I saw the Bulls of 90, the 96 Bulls. You know, I think the 93 Bulls were better. The Celtics of 86, the Lakers of 87. So it depends on what your criteria. And the Celtics of the 60s, because Russell's dominance was incredible. I don't like to leave out nobody's era. We're gonna be a basketball historian, we gotta tell it like it is. Because everybody had an era. And that's the thing you gotta take in consideration because the reason why you have to is because the styles change so much. The Spurs can make a case for 20, I'd say the 2003 when they beat the Nets. So they had a great run. You know, it all depends on what your criteria is. I think them was a great team. They just in an era where they don't have to necessarily flex to win 65 games. It's a different landscape today. You do see more of the load management because teams don't play all out like they used to. But you can still see a top C team. Who I think was greater? Wilt. Wilt was an incredible, unique force. Um, but Russell is underrated as a passer, underrated as a team leader. He doesn't get his due. You can make a case for both either one of those guys being the GOAT. Because rings aside, Bill Russell was an incredible athlete and he could pass that rock. They read off of what he did. He was a player coach. I want you to understand that. He won 2 rings as a player coach. Let that sink in. But Wilt is like a category. He's his own stat category. That's why I call him SG. He's a stat category. So you know, they were one was dominant on offense, one dominant defense, but they both were multi-facets. That's the interesting thing about them and how it turned out. They just have this about who they're supporting cast. Oh, this is a great question. I'm going with Cam because he never had a Marshawn Lynch. I saw that punch and I wasn't going to say nothing. And I did respond to one of the boxing sites about it. What I said. I said, I don't know what lights were more dim, the ones on the outside or Francis. Just being honest. Because the lights were kind of dim outside the ring, and then the lights got dim inside with quickness. That hit was like boom. Dude It's like that's like a Mack truck hit you and you just roll. I was like, wow, wow. Yeah, Cam was a league MVP. The one lost season. He had more of a sway with his team. And the thing about it is Russell was like I said, the thing that's gonna mess with him is Legion of Boom was so great. That's right. And a league MVP is gonna carry weight. It's carrying weight over Russell. Cam was a uh he hit it in a way. Russell was talented, and I still think you can make a case for Hall of Fame. However, what Cam did though that year was something else. So depends on your criteria. Depends on your criteria, but I'll take Cam. And Russell did have a better supporting cast too. Offensive weapons. Cam never had a supporting offensive weapons. Yeah, they had a couple of heartbreakers when he was with the Patriots. He's had a couple of really good games, including against my Bills. He just had a turnover. He turned the ball over, you know, but he did pretty good there. Better than them scrubs they had after him, them bums they had after him. Them scrubs. Yeah, scrubs, not bums. Them scrubs. Them scrubs that came after him, he was better than all three of them. Joy. Oh yeah. Yeah. Malika's cute, but Joy is more my style. If I had to go that route. More knowledgeable too. And doesn't seem out of place when she talks sports either. So I like you know, yeah. She's got a new show too. It's her and another female. They're gonna be doing some female podcasts. So yeah, I like her. All right, Kareem, I see you in there. Yeah, I think Joy's gonna get a clean sweep here. But don't let it be because she's more attractive, but and all because of the funky attitude. Because I know Malik stinks and she's a sellout. I think I remember Roscoe. Hmm. But Rachel got something about it. Rachel got something I always dug about her though. Let's see some. I gotta get on my computer so I can look. Yeah, except when she talking about LeBron. That's the only time she has her moments. Okay, let me get okay, Roscoe. I gotta remember. Um Ross Gold, yo. Yeah. Now I'm having a Steph Curry flashback. So yeah, Ross Gold. I go with Ross on that one. I had to do a quicker cheater on cheat code. Yeah. I had to do that. Yeah. I already seen MJ Costa. I saw her. I did that when you told me the last time, like some time ago. She bad. Oh yeah, Ted. So I don't know if you noticed, I did my video about Jake the Snake Roberts. It's on Vlad. And Vlad sucks. I sat there and listened to that interview, and I'm like, man, just shut up and let you don't know nothing about Jake the Snake. He was up there just like he wasn't even like asking legit questions. But Jake went in about Vince McMahon, and he gave The Rock his due. He said he got out quick enough and he built a career. He said the biggest. And I said, yeah. I said, in hindsight, I guess it is. I think The Rock bigger than Hogan's, bigger than Savage, bigger than Cena's. Yeah, that was a great interview. If you haven't seen it, yeah, that was a great interview he did with Vlad. But Vlad sucked though. Vlad just wouldn't shut up. He talked too much as usual and don't really be knowing the subject he talking about. I like how Jake was real cool about the whole thing about Vince McMahon too. He's like, yeah, here was, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do one at a time. He should have because he got on my nerves. Talent wise, talent overall is LeBron. But if I'm picking my all time list as of today, I'm putting Kobe like 10th and LeBron 11th or something like that. Um, Talent wise, LeBron gives you all around game, but the guy that puts the keep you on your heels is Kobe. So, and it's a judgment call based on what your criteria is. It's on your criteria. If your criteria is about a guy who just wants to get at it, it's Kobe. If it's your criteria is about a guy who wants to try to involve all this and all that, it's LeBron. That's what it really comes down to. But Kobe came up big and, you know, he uh utilized what he had. That's the difference. He utilized what he had, you know. Could LeBron have played with certain other as versatile as he is, he cuts a lot of people's wind off. And that's the thing. So I think Kobe is more playable than LeBron is. So I gotta give Kobe the edge on that. LeBron's a better all around talent, but Kobe cuts to the core. It's a different level to it. Ooh, okay. Oh, Ted will love this one. Oh, well, okay. This is how I do it. If I'm going by talent, it's Aaron Rodgers. Purity is Aaron. Heart, emotion, soul is Brett Favre. And if you ask me who got the more out of the career, I'm taking Brett Favre. Because Aaron was better talent wise, but he ain't reached. Favre got to 2 Super Bowls and another NFC championship. And he played, that's with Minnesota. Aaron done a lot of Pac-Man, but I don't feel his game matched the hype. I think they both overrated, but Aaron Rodgers gets on my nerves more. So I got to give Brett because Brett got to 2 Super Bowls with them in a more competitive era. Um, yeah, I mean, what Kobe did, what Kobe did is that he got the most of what he worked on his game. He became such he wanted to really enhance what he did. LeBron works hard. Um, Underrated passer. He did actually have like a triple double. He said maybe I'll become Kobe Magic. He said something like that. Kobe Johnson. He said that once. He was he could defend LeBron. Remember that. They had a different approach to the game. And I remember Kobe once saying, "Well, if he wants to do his pass, yeah, I want him on my team. Just pass me the rock and move out the way." That's how Kobe looked at him. See, I don't know if he had that kind of respect for him. That's why there's some tension to this day. But you ain't heard it from me though. You know, that's why there's some tension to this day. Kobe was not afraid of the challenge. Well, BG, I would tell you to look up highlights, but I also look at what guys accomplished. Aaron is the more accomplished talent, but Brett Favre got further. Aaron Rodgers didn't come up short a lot of times in big games. Well, Michael Jordan played point guard at the start of the '89 season, had triple doubles going off. He was more versatile than Kobe. He was more versatile. Kobe had a better outside shot. He had incredible lift, top of the key, things that he did. I know Aaron Rodgers won back then. And the last time Aaron Rodgers won, when there's a thing called Twitter, which is now X. And how long ago was that? No one talks about Aaron. Yeah, he won, and Brett Favre won too. But it didn't get, it didn't go where it's supposed to. Well, LeBron is more of a scorer than he is a passer, because I don't think that whole I'm a look to get everybody involved mess. He gets everybody at his way. It's manipulative. You don't end up with 40,000 points if you're not a scorer first. Think about it. And he doesn't drive to the hole a lot either to get his points. Think about it. He's manipulated a lot of that. Patrick Ewing, yeah. But that's just as a passer. We're not talking about his BG. We ain't talking about his overall impact. He's just saying underrated as a passer. He didn't, and he just, and they never had a point guard for him. Didn't have the right talent around him too. Wonder what it'd been like with Michael Ray Richardson and Bernard King with him as a big three in New York. Who knows? He's a great passer. I'm not saying he wasn't, but I don't think that he put an emphasis as he did with, you know, there's certain things he put more emphasis on. You know, he was, but again, he was in an era where they wanted him to be the Western version of Jordan, and that ate at him. Great talent, raw talent. Tim Duncan, not even close. Now, that's kind of like asking me about, to an extent, you could say almost like the Peyton Manning and Tom Brady thing, but you know who Tom Brady is, and you know where Peyton Manning was. Garnett had stats and everything, but he didn't his teams, he didn't impose his will, and Duncan could do what he could do. Duncan's underrated skill is he could do what you could do, but you couldn't do what he could do. Can I drop the mic when I said that? Duncan could do what you could do, but you couldn't do what he could do. When Amari Stoudemire and them winning that series against them, and he was running, and and Nash had got that MVP and all that, the Spurs could run too. And Duncan went off. But when they slowed the game down half tempo, and he couldn't keep up with Duncan. So I'm going to say this again. Duncan could do what you could do, but you couldn't do what Duncan could do. Yeah, Minnesota didn't have all the pieces, but he didn't match up. He couldn't intimidate Duncan. He couldn't touch Duncan. He couldn't. For me, it's not close. People don't realize how great Tim Duncan was. I mean, it's just because he didn't have a lot of fanfare, and he didn't tap dance, and he didn't spin, and he didn't play for a big market team. But if you look at his numbers, his career, postseason money time, it's not even close. It's not even close. He was on another level. And the funny thing is that KG went to two finals with the Celtics after Duncan and the Spurs, and then Duncan a few years later Oh, wow. Wow. And he's still not winning. Yeah. Yeah. But they're like 10 degrees. There's like a big difference between the two. I know they're gonna get somebody. I know Devontae Adams probably was like Hercules, Hercules. I bet he was. Get me out of Saudi Arabia. Please get me out of Saudi Arabia. Went from Jimmy G to an unknown G, and they got rid of Derek Carr. 3 quarterbacks in what, a year for Adams? He's like, please get me out of it because you play the Raiders, you're gonna die. Yeah, I mean, Duncan could do all that KG could do. And the team believed in him. And he wasn't, plumping his chest so yeah, he said Kenny G, one note. They had no notes, but yeah, but that's a huge one though. That's a huge one. You know what they say? The rich get richer. The rich get richer. That's a huge move. Appreciate that update too. That's a huge move. Not a shock though. I knew they're gonna land somebody. And who wouldn't want to go play with Mahomes? Who wouldn't? I mean, the magic wand is what I call him. I mean, they won with no name cats at receiver pretty much. And you put some cats who ain't gonna drop the rock? Oh shucks. So how you figure? How you figure? They just gotta make a move, that's all. They're in trouble if they can't get to the second round anymore. The third round, they're in trouble. They're not in trouble if they can't win the division. They're not in trouble if they just gotta tighten up on the defense. They got to. That could be, they gotta be more better consciousness on offense early, but they gotta tighten up the defense. That's the problem. That's why they're making a major overhaul. They didn't feel that they got what they need to win, and it's a fact. They rode this ship for a few years and it ain't work. Okay, what's happening? Scarlet Moodley. What's going on? Lawrence Taylor. Not and my kinfolk too. He haven't be my kinfolk. Not even close. Not even close. Because he changed the course of football. He win games nonstop. Incredible. None. Can't how am I have a pet peeve today when running backs don't even last as long as what I want to say. Oh, I gotta pick out something. About as long as American Idol's career does, and when it becomes recording artist. Can't have none because it's a different day. How many long-term running backs you got? McCaffrey's one of them. It's not that many. They used to be, I would say, they talk about give me more touches and stuff. They don't last as long today. He was incredible. Seeing him change the course of games. He won games. You find me players on defense that can win you games, can terrorize the division. I mean, he just had it like that. One of a kind. One of a kind. One of a one. You know, when guys are dominant and they can beat you just sight on scene. That's what he was. He was sight on scene. Sight on scene. You know, I mean, he took matters into his own hands. So that is uncanny ability. This is a real what we call an awkward and rare question here, because I never get those two put together. No, because Jamal played for like 30 years. Jamal's handles never went away. Monte thought he was better. Monte was good. Monte had moments. But there's a reason why they got rid of him. At the time, Milwaukee was in Spain, and they dealt him, and they replaced him with Clay. He was a head case, didn't work. Would he have worked? Would there have been a rotation? Because he's the same man that came out and said the only difference between me and Dwayne Wade is Dwayne Wade got a ring. That's what Monty Ellis was quoted as saying. I'm like, no, no. You a ball hog. You thought you were better than you were. Yeah, but he wasn't that dude. He wasn't that dude. Jamal is one of those guys that, ball and stuff, but he just, who I thought was better? Bird. Um, he beat you different ways too, but he fundamentally with that team. And I thought that his range, his style, he won with Rick Roby, Cornbread Maxwell. He won with when he won his early chip. He didn't have a big presence early on. Think of some of the guys he won with, and I have to say Bird got him beat. But they both like 1 and 1A as far as I'm concerned. I love them both. I said Jamal was better, but Jamal made himself into a role player. That's all. Jamal never really got beyond a typecast. Okay. But Monty was good, but Jamal had a better, longer career. But I got to go Bird. It's close, though, but I have to give Bird the edge, though. Oh, yeah, Barkley, of course. That's not even for discussion. That's not really that close. Because Weber had some moments, but he never took over like, I know. He had a rough series. And that's why Moses Malone made the joke about, he made the joke that I could get 4 guys from St. Petersburg, Virginia, and we could beat the Celtics. But Bird did lead them as far as getting there. And Bird played with guys. What I'm getting at is that's before Parrish and McHale became Parrish and McHale. Bird was winning them league MVPs. He was carrying that squad. He did all the little things. So that's all I'm getting at. I remember Cornbread. No one remembers it unless you're a Boston fan or you're a diehard or you're a basketball geek. But that was before Bird became Bird. And then, of course, the rest was history. Yeah, no argument there, MD. Because that man was insane. Hillary for me, but it's close, though, but Hillary. I just liked a little bit more, that's all. Liked it a little more. But I do hold Bird and Magic high. Maybe you can make a case as Bird is the GOAT, too. Lamar. Now, Eli is clutching the postseason. So if that's your argument, and this is what's so twisted, because that's where you want to drug test Eli Manning, because he's so frustrating during the regular season. Regular season, he's got the rings. And I know he's got a lot of numbers and stats, but Lamar moves me more in the regular season. He got 2 regular season MVPs. That is such a toughie one. I have to say T-Mac, because T-Mac got more out of his career. Vince had that early window, but that window closed. And he wasn't really the guy after 03, 04. T-Mac played a little bit longer, and T-Mac had more of a rise. Vince is those woulda, coulda, shoulda dudes. He just didn't have the mindset. Physicality was scary. I mean, He was must-see TV from 99 to 02. He was, but T-Mac just got better, though. He got better. But neither one of them had the mental capacity to take it to another level. Yeah, and he won this year, too. I like Lamar better, but I know the arguments for Eli because he won the chips. So it depends on what your criteria is. You ask me who if I'm going by who I think's the better quarterback, I think it's Lamar, but I think Eli comes up clutch. But I'll tell you one thing: if Lamar wins one Super Bowl and one Super Bowl MVP, it's not even up for discussion. Not even up for discussion. Yeah, I had to get T Mac his due because he overall game became Bird and Michael Jordan comes to mind. Shaq and Elijah on Taco Bell too. Um, I'm not a role model, Charles Barkley. The corny, well, the Converse commercials with Magic Bird, Isaiah McKell, I like that. Um, hmm. D Wade and Charles T-Mobile, I like that. Hmm. Steph's commercials with CP3, State Farm. Because the funny thing is, originally CP3 was going up, and then after a while, yeah. And then I like the Trey Young commercials too, with the brother. They're not in the same boat. Well, they are in a different ways. Lamar has the better regular seasons, and Eli has the better postseasons. So they they're in polar opposites. I was actually, when I say same boat, I'm talking about the one does the thing one way and the other does the other. They're not the same. Eli is frustrating during the regular season, and Lamar is usually great. And then Lamar is frustrating in the postseason. Eli is great. That's what I'm getting at. Most of them in the NBA. Most of them, Zeke. Yeah, I remember that. That cracked me up. Most of them, Zeke. Because they put money on who they think is going to be the money. They don't put money on people unless they think they can not sell no jerseys and they can't sell no. It's a game. It's a game within a game. So if you think about some of the biggest players in the NBA, um, most of them had to sell out. Had to. They don't just put indoor. They you have to kind of be halfway there that they see you. They have it already mapped and figured out. That's why people think a lot of it is scripted. I hate to say it like that, but they have their favorites. That's how guys end up. They're great, but then the politics of them, and then the merch of them, then they start winning. Then there's other factors. So it's the factors of not the factors, but it's there. So the people should decide, but the people don't get to decide. You know. So, but most of them are. Oh yeah, he was the first though. 40 years ago. See, I'm gonna tell you like this, and I don't know how old everybody is that comes through here. If you're old enough to remember, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. There was no solo black NBA player. Magic was linked with Bird, so it was like a lethal weapon, cop buddy, black cop, white cop. Dr. J ABA was big. They needed that energy, but they didn't really like him. The fro, the chains, all that. That's nothing new. Dr. J Iverson ain't that different. That's another story. I might do a video about that. But Jordan was the first one to kind of like David Stern had that crystal ball. Isaiah was too black. It ain't always about how you win. It's about can you smile? Can you fit the camera? Can you polarize? Barkley was one of those rare anomalies who spoke, but he fit the camera. They got people they fit the camera. They liked the large one, they didn't love him. That's why even though he won, Shaq shared because Shaq fit the camera. Yeah, because Dr. J's in my top 15 greatest players ever. And one of the most underrated, underappreciated. and one of the most underrated shot blockers too. What you talking about, Dominique? I don't think Dominique was too black. I think he was too country, but he did speak his mind. I do like Dominique a lot, but I don't think he didn't have the squad around him. He didn't have the squad. Doc Rivers was not that dude, not like that. Kevin Willis was not like that. Um, Tree Rollins wasn't that dude. They just didn't have they didn't have what I call a championship squad. He never had a Scottie Pippen type. So, but yeah, I do. Dr. J's in my top 15 ever. He too important not to be high. I'm sorry. That guy made you appreciate basketball. He was poetic. He was incredible. George Gervin's probably in my 30 range. Just didn't win, but his finger roll, whew, boy. George Gervin and Moses Malone is high on my list too, because nobody rebounded like Moses. Now you can say so and so was a better rebounder than that, but no one rebounded like he did. He put teams on his back. So I have to put those guys like that. Mike Moses and Doc are high on my list because they were always like that. Except he didn't have an outside shot like that, but his finger roll. Oh man, that finger. He was like a precursor to KD and Carmelo because he could score at will. And again, no 3-point line, hand checking, physicality. And this guy was putting up some crazy numbers. Keep that in mind. But see, Gervin will tell you, which is true, there's a lot of politics involved, not ticks, politics, because they put you in a certain sector where you don't stand a chance to win. But people in the know how filthy he was. So Sigma was a good was that's a tough white boy. Had that shot where he shot that over his head. He was good. And I like Sigma. That's a different era too. He would actually been good today because that top of the key, he could shoot that shot over his head, and you have to go out there and try to get him. He was good. Different era though. Different era. But yeah, George Gervin, yeah, finger rolls ridiculous. I mean, you know, some of those guys like that were just incredible artists. Like they made basketball pretty. Oh yeah, he would. He could shoot. He was agile. He was quick. He could move. Those guys played basketball with flair. Can you imagine that? Now Steph does have flair. He does have flair, and he's got a lot of showmanship. Sometimes he be hot dogging it, but he has showmanship. But there's a certain uniqueness to it. But those guys then they were doing it without 3-point lines. They were shooting shots and they could finger roll, spin off the base, go up sideways, work their arms. Incredible. Tiny was great. Scoring like that and lead the league in assists, I mean, just uncanny. Just happened to be playing for Norway, that's all. The Norway, no one knew where you were. At their peak, in the modern last 40 years, it's Shaq at a peak because you got to factor in rebounds and wins and dominance. Shaq, Jordan come to mind because they dominated and it was a high peak altitude. LeBron had high peaks, Steph had high peaks. But the way Shaq and MJ did it, they were running teams. They were running it in a big way. Um, but the best player at their peak was Wilt Chamberlain. That's the correct answer. And in all honesty, that's kind of almost like the only answer. Because to have points, to score and rebound too, come on now. But for mere mortals, if we're doing the mortals, it's Shaq and Jordan and Wilt, Shaq and Jordan, who are to me probably three of the most dominant players ever. LeBron, in his Miami era, I would say peak, especially when he won his second MVP because he played his best basketball in Miami. That was his peak to me. He was at his absolute apex. So, but out them three, I'd say Shaq. Jordan's 87 year with 37, or I could make a case 90s, but those two were 1 and 1 as far as peak goes, as far as I'm concerned. Probably when Charles Barker was wearing that ugly burgundy jacket when he got drafted in '84. That was hilarious. So it was Karl Malone wearing an ugly suit. It's always when someone's wearing something that like Jalen Rose draft night with the suit or something's funny. That's it. I don't really get into it too much than that because I just remember what Cats was rocking. I don't remember. I don't really get into the whole thing though, really, because it's always about the clothes or it's not about it's draft night. NBA draft night is not like other drafts. It's like a fashion show, and guys will stand up at the podium and say something, and whatever. Or if they don't get traded. That's a great question, BG. Do I like that though? That was a great question. I noticed you mentioned those three in particular because they would be some of the big three you'd come up with because they scored and they had a lot of field goal percentages. It was huge. You know, and I am a peak kind of person with people. I don't do like whole bodies of work because whole bodies of work sometimes some guys fall off, some guys have this or have that. It's hard to really say a whole body of work when we build up our cases for who was greater or this or that because peak has to take in consideration because that's when guys absolutely won and they dominated and did their thing. So it's almost not fair. Very few people have had careers like Wilt Chamberlain where you can, pick this time like that. That's an anomaly. Uh, you know, And Duncan won the last two rings latter part of his career, but he was more dominant early part of his career. So again, it's different levels to the situation. It's different levels to the prime and the peak. You know, like Kobe's prime and peak was after Shaq was gone. He was starting to peak, but he hit his prime post Shaq. So it's stuff like that gets kind of blurry. You know, Curry is an interesting anomaly because he's not that far from where he was a decade ago. But the league is different now. It's not like it was then when he ran wild. And they were the only kids on the block who could pretty much do what they were doing. So, but he's almost similar. Waiting for some more questions. People getting quiet now, so. Well, he's got longevity, but Jordan was a better player, though. And when you say better for a long time, how many rings did it mean? If a guy gives me 6 and 8 years, and a guy was knocking at the door in two of them years when he lost to Detroit, that tells me that he was in Eastern Conference Finals 8 times out of 12, 13 years. So that's a lot longer. LeBron went to 10 straight them finals, but he's got 4 rings, but they're spread out. Doesn't quite equate to the same dominance. Then you got to throw at me, he scored more points, and you'll say rebounds and assists. Okay, that's nice and dandy, and that's a stat. And he's had longevity to his career. However, how many different times did he have to flip teams, flip sides, flip coaches, turn the bed over upside down to find his change or to get his key so he could open the door? That's the problem that we run into. You know. He good. He just needs probably put about a little meat on his bones, and he needs to get. He needs I'd say another scoring option, point guard. They need to play better defense. They need a bench. They need a lot of body work. But the upside to the kid, and the way I look at the West, I give him about a couple years. He could be running things. I put it to you like this: what I've seen so far, if he stays hungry, motivated, focused, and it's 2 or 3 years down the line, he gonna make you forget all about a guy named Zion Williamson. You heard it here first. Zion's gonna be a grandpa to a lot of people. Just saying. As a coach, yeah. He definitely was as a player too. Yeah, he got the ring. He went to multiple finals. Alderman did too with Portland, but Alderman got out coached. Alderman got out coached in the bull. Well, Scotty said they were a dumb team. I never forget that quote. And against Detroit, they played them pretty good, but they just I don't know what happened. They just and then I remember against the Lakers in '91, Magic threw the ball down the court. He always found ways to just lose. Now you can make the case he got robbed in Sacramento in '02 against the Lakers. That probably was his best squad. Had he won that ring, this might be a little bit difficult question because he probably would have won there. But his team never came back the same. But the Lenny, no, he eats too many pork chops and he be standing down in, he stay up there in Louisiana beating on the gumbo. That's what's up. Tell the whole truth. That cat been in the league half a decade, and I can't remember half a season he played. That's just a fact, you know. And he's up there telling him be an ultimatum. If you give me pick me as an all-star, I'll be in the slam dunk contest. I said, well, first of all, your butt got to show up Monday through Friday, maybe Saturday, Sunday, before we even consider that. What I'm using him as a springboard because he was the last sensation to come out as a rookie. But because he didn't fell off so much and you kind of forgot about him, Victor is gonna make Zion look like someone's grandpa. He's gonna look like he's gonna start looking like long in the tooth, like Paul George now. Like a guy that was a woulda, coulda, shoulda guy, and then they got a Devin Booker behind him. See, you get old in this league very fast, especially when you're not coming on all cylinders. He would have been because then he would have taken Sacramento, the 2 trips to Portland. Yeah. But Lenny back to back against Washington, and he was solid with Atlanta, and he was an all-time winning coach at one time. So Lenny's got it over him. Lenny has a style and philosophy that worked. But Allman had better talent, if you want my honest opinion. You had Clyde Drexler during that run. And then you had Paige Starkovich, who was a top 5 considered MVP candidate, and Chris Webber. So they had, you know, talent. He's had talent. And he is a good coach. He was a really good coach. Really good. Well, if you put some wood to his legs, he ain't much to him because that's what Rick Fox did. You just have to put some wood on him. That's all. I was more scared of Bobby Jackson when they had him than I was Mike Bibby, if you must know. Well, I understand, and I'm glad you come there from Two Raw. I appreciate that because Two Raw is one of my favorite people. I mean, we might disagree on some things, but I got much respect for that brother. I respect his channel. Appreciate anybody come over here for Two Raw because I do hold him in high regard. I do got much respect for him. He's a Buffalo Bills fan. We got some things in common, and Barry Bonds love. Much respect. Um, Milken was an incredible athletic center. I think the only knock I'm going to have when I say this, and it's political because I don't hold back when I talk. I'm not going to be vulgar or say anything disrespectful, but I'm going to keep it 100. The league was a little too milk toasty. And I can't knock a guy what he's playing against and how successful he is. However, when we talk about the most important centers ever, usually when we talk about the four Rushmores, we talk about Wilt, Russell, Kareem, and Shaq. Milken doesn't get that due because he wasn't banging against a lot of brothers. And therefore is one of the knocks that not hit not I can't, you play with what you got. But if we held it against baseball, would Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb and Cy Young and Walter Johnson be as regarded as they are? Or Lou Gehrig, would it be regarded as they are if they had to have more Negroes? Would Johnny Unitas, Bart Starr, Starbot, who I got much respect for, up to Joe Montana, would they be as respected they had to go against more black quarterbacks? So you got to think about these. Would Vince Lombardi be such a grand, if you had a coaching? So I think with the Milken thing, I'm gonna get to that in just a second. The Milken thing, I think a lot of people get kind of, even white folks get kind of turned off because he was dominant against fellow white dudes, and it seemed at a different pace. But he was talented, and he was bad. It's just that it's one of them situations because of the narrative of it. I want to say, but I will not say that George Milken was going to be as dominant as no Wilt or no Shaq. No, I'm not going to say that. He could have been in that argument. Okay, and as far as D'Antoni goes, heck yeah. 7-man rotation, burn your team out, systematic, regular season, you look great. Now, I know Kobe called him a genius, okay? But did it look like genius when Kobe had him as his head coach? Steve Nash was a boy wonder. Jeremy Lin was a boy wonder. James Harden was a boy wonder with his style. But did it net any jewelry for all that run and gun they did? So I would say he is over. It was like a flash in the pan. Regular season, one of the most exciting, enthralling, enchanting things you could see. Not so much in the postseason. So me and D'Antoni is kind of like Pringles. That's what we call them, Pringles on the streets. Pringles is half-hearted to me. And his last coaching gig, I think he was an assistant with Brooklyn, and that's couldn't even get a go. He won't get a job again. Great to get an upstart player though. He's good for guard players. Oh yeah, if you're a guard, he's the kind of coach you want. You trying to win a chip. Just saying. Had chances. Yeah, but Sean Marion wasn't no guard like that. He wasn't like Steve. It wasn't the same. He fit, but they didn't win. Underrated NFL MVP seasons. Well, Ted, when you ask that question, please throw some names at me so I can think of who would be considered underrated NFL P seasons because I think some people were going to say Lamar Jackson this year, if you must know. There were some people who didn't want him to get it this year. And I think he'll definitely get that underrated, underappreciated this year. Want to say when Matt Ryan won it. I think when Barry Sanders had to share that MVP with Brett Favre, which was a travesty. That was underappreciated. He didn't need no help. Here you go. Here you go. I guess so. That one probably would be because I think the last one he got was overrated. I didn't get that. So I'll give you that. But he got one or two in there I think he was overrated with. I don't know about all them four that he got. I might give him 2 or 3. I don't know about 4 though. I don't know about all that. I just don't see it. But they slurp him though. But he was great back then. I won't argue with you there. Oh yeah. Oh yes. One ring by him, and he leaps George Carl. He leaps Alderman. He might be a better coach than them when you think about what he done. But then he for sure changes everything you think about with Larry Brown, things you think about with maybe with Spo, with who can I pick on? Rudy T. Yeah, never seen a coach who had such an offensive juggernaut to one like he did, and to use less, and then to utilize his skill set and run a monopoly, and how he did it and work it in different factors. He did. I mean, he made Steve Nash, one of the oldest point guards, look like Back to the Future. And then Jeremy Lin off the couch was Lin Sanity. And then James Harden. I mean, come on. Offensive greatness, what he did. He just ran his teams to the ground, and he didn't finish the big prize. And he didn't get to the show. And I have to deduct. And that's why he's one of those flash in the pan guys. It's like I always tell Ted, like it's kind of like a Buck Showalter in baseball, or a Mark Jackson NBA. Oh, if he won a chip in New York, then they would call him top 7 greatest coach ever. Everybody knows that. And he the one with Jeremy Lin and with Melo. Oh, he'd have been top 7 ever. Anywhere, Phoenix, New York, or in Houston, because he had 2 guys that were MVP, and he had a guy who was a bench warmer into a starter. So, but it didn't. What we don't talk about him in LA. We don't talk about him and Dwight Howard and Kobe and Nash. We tune that one out. We just skip over that. We gloss over that the man had 4 jobs. Okay. And it didn't pan out to a chip. Okay. That's how we remember it. But if you win one chip with all that incredibleness that you did with those league MVPs and all that, you're going to be considered the top 7 or 8 greatest coaches ever, because you had multiple league MVPs. And you made a bench warmer into a starter and bought him a career for 10 years. Who's going to argue with that? Because Jeremy Lin arguably benefited more from having D'Antoni as a coach than even Harden and Nash put together, if you think about it. Got him a ring in Toronto. First Asian American player to do that. And also, he stung on his career. D'Antoni, I'm telling you, but he didn't get it done. And that's the knock. That's the knock. That's a great question, too. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, C81, for that. Got that off my chest. No one ever asked me about like that, but but there you go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When you consider how the guard play has changed in the NBA the last 15, 20 years, and then you think about a guy like D'Antoni, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because Nash and Harden's runs were like in between Steph Curry's, before and after. You think about it. So there you go. And he was about run, 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 run. Yeah, but again, Duncan and them beat him. Remember what I said about I can do Duncan can do what you can do, but you can't do what Duncan did. Duncan ran with Amari, and they ran him down. They could not run against the Spurs because they did not have they did not have the physicality to counter. Play no defense. D'Antoni's about working like a workhorse. Get the ball in the net, hurry up, get the ball up, hurry up, hurry up. So, you know. Yeah, I've been watching D'Antoni. I speak on what I know on that. He had multiple chances. If he wins in the last 15 years, he's probably the most important NBA coach. Because think about this. He would carry more weight than Steve Kerr did. And Kerr had the Splash Brothers because Steph is going to carry more weight. But when you think about a coach who had charisma, personality, and implemented a system, who is seeing D'Antoni if he wins? Because Popovich is more of a traditionalist. Spo is more a traditionalist. Kerr kind of got himself into a new agey, but he's a traditional. No one was doing what D'Antoni was doing. I know, but I'm saying if D'Antoni had won one with all that I just got through saying, that would have carried more sway. He's got more charisma than Kerr. And he's done it with multiple guards. With no Splash Brothers per se. That's the difference. He was like his own one man band. It just didn't get it done. That's all. Because had he got it done, we're having a different discussion. And I don't know if you understand how I'm wording it, but I'm trying to word it in a way where he was an integral part of what we end up seeing because Phoenix was the precursor to what Golden State did. They ran and moved quick, but they ran in unison through the ball, got the ball down the floor. Curry stopped that process by shooting them halfway court threes and them long range shots. Clay didn't even have to dribble. So, but D'Antoni was like an enabler. He was a forerunner of a lot of that. That's what I'm getting at. So, as a coach, but it just didn't. That's why Kobe called him a genius, Dwayne Wade, because of tangibles, leadership qualities. Durant's a better pure scorer, but D Wade can hang as a defender. Is you can make the case tied or near Jordan as far as the two guard, as far as the defense goes, ball handling skills, creating shots. He didn't score. He didn't have a 3-pointer like Durant, and he not going. But his repertoire overall, his leadership overall, his depth, his magnitude, Dwayne got him. Durant's a better pure what you call offensive force, but anything else is debatable. It really is. And Dwayne Wade to me moved me more. He moved me more. Now, if Durant goes out here and wins another ring with Phoenix and becomes the Finals MVP, then he moves up the pole. But I got to take Dwayne Wade over him. Got to take D Wade. Tangibles, fundamentals of leadership, and just had that attitude that I'm going to take it and do it. And then he had no problem with working with people. He was the first humblest superstar I saw. Then Curry did it. So Dwayne Wade could do it both ways. Play high end, make it work. So Durant has the things, but that's the thing. So that's what I say. That counts. We have to take all those intricacies into when we evaluate because if we just go, you know, favorite moment, anything but these last moments, not that Jake Paul crap. I don't want to see nothing. I like him when he's in his retrospective, when he's feeding his pigeons or he's in a peaceful mode. There have been some funny press conferences. He had me rolling. He said some stuff. He used some big words. I don't know if he knew what he was saying, but it was hilarious. Um, Different parts of his career, you know, different parts. Some of his commercials are funny. Um, Believe it or not, the Riddick Bowe fight, because even though he shows so much heart, and then you really had to fight him. You know, he had a tenacity to be long winded and go at you. Is that a joke? Ask Ted that one. The Cowboys already. Yeah, yeah. Wasn't always the case. But why is it a team who ain't won a Super Bowl in almost 30 years since AOL was in newspapers gets treated like they are Kansas City or New England? Why is that? How does that work? His grill. I always liked him in Let's Do It Again, the movie. And then also when he was on San Francisco, he had a funny little side to him, little mischievous side, which he cracked me up. Um, yeah, and of course, I like as boxers. Foreman was a bad dude in the ring. Yeah, the Cowboys overrated. Come on now. Dak Prescott is one of the most overrated quarterbacks ever. Mike McCarthy's overrated as a coach. Jerry Jones overrated as an owner, and they still command all this attention. No, he don't. He says it on TV, but I love when he laughs when they lose. I like that. That last one, when they lost to Green Bay, but he don't hate them because he needs them. And he knows they're gonna choke. That's not hate. That's fact. They do. Oh, many of them. I mean, his stand-ups, Sanford Son. When he spoke out, there's a 68 clip when he was talking about Black Hollywood. You know, he spoke a lot of stuff he was in. It's a lot of stuff for Red Fox. He's one of my favorite comedians ever, storytellers. And I like some of the sketches that he did with Flip Wilson. And I liked his roast, the Sinatra roast. He was an interesting cat. Much respect for old Red. He inspired my name, if you must know. Hmm. So, but the Cowboys, they please. I mean, yeah, I am too. But I think he needs them because he works for the mass on ESPN plantation, so he can't be too much hateful because he has to watch what he say. He may not. He might have disdain for them, but he needs them because be delusional, which they are. That mess happens every year. They're delusional, and I know how delusional they are. I dealt with them. You know, they beat our behind back in the 90s, but the 90s is a lifetime ago. They're nowhere near close. You know, I mean, think about it. Patrick Mahomes got more Super Bowl appearances than Dak Prescott, and Tony Romo put together got postseason wins or as much. Think about that for a moment. So, do I need to say more? Do I need to say more? Because they each got 2 wins, and Mahomes has been to 4 Super Bowls. Now, you tell me. So, that's overrated. It's something like that because let's just say they had to deal with the Brady era, and now they got to deal with the Mahomes era. That's all I'm gonna say about that. So you tell me if the Cowboys are overrated. Good, and what else? A better analysis. Good quarterback, greater analysis. But he only had 2 postseason wins. Patrick Mahomes got more Super Bowl wins than Tony Romo got postseason wins. Let that sink in. Answer your question. There you go. Dak Prescott, I think, has got about 3 postseason wins. Patrick Mahomes got more Super Bowl appearances than Dak Prescott got postseason wins. You see how I'm doing this? And we're not talking about quarterbacks that were under him for like, 4 or 5 years. We're talking about cats that been there for minutes. Been there a minute. You tell me. You tell me. You ask, I'm gonna tell you. And it's not like they didn't have talent with them either. It's not like they didn't have talent. They just didn't get it done. You know. So You start to see these things when you don't wear rose-colored glasses. Because some of their fans be like, "Oh, you just a meanie and you mean." No, I call it like what it is. You ain't winning. You ain't winning. You ain't dominant. You ain't dominant. And the sad reality is this: there's always going to be one cat that comes down the pike that just got it, and there'll be another one that's close. But there's only one that does the thing where you're like, "Oh, that guy, he's frustrating." So that's all I got to say about that. Asking about them, they just have not achieved nothing. That's all. Not in a long time. Yeah, because he's got the rings. And Curry developed into an all-time great player. There are people who don't hold. Let's look at Nash and let's look at Harding. Combined, they're not seeing Steph Curry. Combined. Steph got 2 MVPs. Those two got 3 combined. Okay. Curry's got 4 rings. Finals MVP. Drive down the street. This is Steph Curry. Drive down the street. This is Nash and Harding. Drive down the street. Steph Curry. And 6 finals appearances. Yes, D'Antoni has Easter egg. So that's what we debate. You are measured by what you accomplish. And had he won 1 ring, history looks at him different because he had those multiple MVPs that played in the system. But he didn't. So now he's just a guy that you just kind of look at as a guy that stat pad ran things and didn't get it done. Yeah. That's the old Phil Jackson philosophy. That's what made Phil so great. Because oh, oof. That's a good one right there. Depends on what side of the coin I go on. I got to go with Gervin because his offense was just so special, and he led his team, and he moved me more. And I'm sorry, you got to score if you're going to be a leader of a team. You got to be a big time scorer. That's why Scottie Pippen's futile and fake knock against Jordan was so blasphemous because he couldn't lead the team in scoring. He wasn't that dude. He had some big games, but then he turned around and stink it up. Gervin could score. So I have to give Gervin the edge there. It's close because they both did things greatly, but Gervin moved me more. So I gotta give the Iceman his due. That's a good one too. That's a real good one. Well, I hold them both in high regards, but I got to give Pierce the edge because he's a scoring and as a leader. That's the only reason because he did lead that Boston team, and he scored and he defended and he did both. And and I have to be careful with him because he thinks he's better than what he is. But I have to give him his due. But that's close because Bosch to me was more of an overall versatile player who could do more. But if we're going by what they came up big and what they did, Pierce got it. You talking about Ralph Sampson or Kiki Vandeweghe? Is what you asking? Because that's a real odd question there. No one ever asked that one. Is that who you're talking about? And Kiki Vandeweghe. Kiki, because Ralph never really got to the full apex of his career. Playing with Olajuwon was kind of like a novelty. Yeah, I remember. And that's why I'm giving him the edge because he played against Kobe. He D'd him up really well, despite that wheelchair routine, which was hilarious. He was a big time player. He played hard, played like a champion. Bosch is bad. Don't get it twisted. But Paul Pierce scoring, defending, leading that team, etc. That's what Tatum and Bell don't have. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Paul Pierce is one of the 15, 20 greatest players ever. I'm not. But from a leadership standpoint of view, he's one of the most essential. And believe me, if Tatum had him to play off of, oh, they win about 3 or 4 rings, 2 or 3 easily. Because Pierce has got leadership moxie. He's got that it, and you can get on his back and win. He think he better than what he is. That's my pet peeve. He always talks crazy, like he was better than Dwayne Wade, and he told him and Draymond Green were talking about Draymond's won't tell nobody about his farewell tour. I'm like, nobody cares. Paul Pierce, no one cared about your farewell parade. You got this delusion that you were greater than you had an old man's game with an old man shot. I used to call him Grady Wilson. Yeah, he was the truth because he could make that ugly shot go in, but it wasn't, he played hard. I give him that. But then when he went ring chasing, going all over to Brooklyn and to add to the clip, all that mess, that was embarrassing. Yeah. And they fell out too. Everybody fell out with Rondo. I did love Rondo back then. Rondo was one of my favorite point guards. And Rondo's one of the smartest players I've ever seen too. He mean mug, try to play a tough guy all the time. Got to be annoying. He was annoying. Like I said, look, you great, but you ain't. And then he tried to mess with Tim Duncan. Tried all that mess, all those antics. And I just thought, look, man, you're a studio gangster, and he still does that mess, talk that mess. He was kind of like looking like DMX. He got that growling, barking. Oh. Ray can come across kind of aloof. He might put you off. You might think he's being arrogant. Um, some people can be put off by it. I get him. He doesn't bother me, but for some people, he might come across kind of aloof. He just kind of low key in what he's doing. Okay, Newton, come on now. Cutler was a talented quarterback, but he had that attitude, that snarl face, like he just like I'm here, whatever. He just always had that kind of deadpan look. Was a really good quarterback, but his attitude, he kind of got into me and Ted talk about. He would fall into that bummy category because when he wanted to be, he could be great and he could be really, really good. But then he had other times he just was kind of lifeless. He too inconsistent. Like that year when they lost to Green Bay in Ted knows 2011. Cutler was nice, but he had that attitude. And sometimes that stank face would come up and he just didn't play good. And it just was how he was. He had that stank face look, and it was it. Cam played at a high level. I'm sorry, when you play with a one-loss season team and you win league MVP, you're gonna always have some most of the time you're gonna have some special hold you up, you know. So especially when you come off being a Heisman Trophy. Yeah, because he brought that on himself. It didn't have to be that way. He was really a talented dude, but he just had that stank look and he just didn't bring it. Well, you got to give me a name of a player that I can do because when you say earning an NBA journeyman pet peeve, there are a lot of guys. Depends on what kind of attitude they got. I know Jeremy Lin got real cocky, and he was a journeyman, and he got real cocky, and I'm like, look, you peeked out. Jordan was talking about it. Well, that's a real journeyman. He never said nothing that offended me, you know. Um, I think as long as you don't bring too much attention, if your game sucked and you don't bring no attention, I can kind of bypass it. But it's if a guy gets cocky and he acts like that, well, they got me now, we're gonna win. I'm like, what have you done the last 20 years? So that's would have to be somebody that turned me off. So I'd be kind of hard pressed to think of somebody, if I'm honest, that turned me off that was a German because most of them don't really brag or get too braggadocious because most of them know that, well, they are stars because they're playing in an era where being a specialist and being a role player don't, means one and the same. I mean, you get guys who play today, like, believe it or not, D'Angelo Russell is a journeyman. Okay, there you go. But he looks like a starter. There you go. Who's really a role player. There you go. See how I did that? Uh-huh. Austin Reeves too. Uh-huh. Got all the makings of it. Alex Crusoe. Alex Crusoe. C- Caruso. Yeah. Come on now. Shoot. That's how it's manipulated today. So when you ask me that question today, it's like they all one and the same. Back in the day, it meant you were a role player. I knew the difference between Robert Ory and Steph Curry. Today, I don't. That's the difference. Or Robert Ory and Dame Lillard. I knew the difference. I don't know it today. I don't today. Yeah, he got to the finals. He had more contending teams. He did more with what he had. He had more success than Flip. Yeah, he's a better coach. Yeah, he would. Well, that's the scary part too. I think he would. I don't know. I got to think about that. Some of it depends on what. Again, depends on what position, structure, and team. Because I got to take things into consideration. When cats say that, I got to think about who that team they were with, how that team would look today, and then I got to think about the structure. So I got to catch myself. That's why when the Iverson thing, I said, well, with Jello and B, they ain't gonna be no 41. Yeah, but Allen Iverson at that time was like 49. He wasn't the same Iverson. He was past the finals with Detroit. I mean, past with Philly. He was past that era. He wasn't the same dude. He caught AI on the tail end, not on the front end. Not the same. And it was Melo's team too. Not the same. They would have butted heads back in the day. If Larry Brown did, because all them Carolina boys start the same. So yeah, he's better than Stan Van Gundy. And yeah, he's a good old boy, but as a coach, he was. Well, Stan Van Gundy choked with Shaq D Wade and with Dwight Howard. He did get to the finals, but he couldn't. He had two of the greatest talents at center. I think Dwight Howard should have been top 75, and he didn't get stuff done. And then he ends up coaching Orlando, which they was basically a witness protection program team. So he's had multiple chances. You can't figure it out, and you don't know how to coach bigs, and he came up short, and that was it. So yeah, Carl was a good offensive coach. He just didn't get the jobs done. That's all, you know. But he did keep his he did coach up his teams. He did coach up his teams. And to his credit, he gave Jordan the ugliest finals Jordan had too, because Rodman won 2 of those games. I've said that. That was the ugly finals. But they did, they didn't stop him, but they played it ugly. Yeah, and they come to find out Hedo was on steroids too. I don't know if you remember that, because I wondered why he was playing like he like an all-star in '09 in the finals. I was looking at Hedo Turkle and I'm like, oh wow. And then I think Shard got busted for juice too. I think because he was raw bone, but he was built. But Hedo was high too. But anyway, but Hedo wasn't like that in Sacramento. Hedo looked like an all-star in Orlando. He didn't look like that in Sacramento. I remember him. I remember when Lewis had that big old Dallas was trying to get him. They had balloons and confetti and all that. Mark Cuban had it all for him. I remember all them cats just like yesterday. So he was, yeah, that was the story. Yeah, because he was playing like at a level. My home, I was cracking up because I'm like, do you remember Turkey look like that? You're like looking at each other like, he ain't look the same. Yeah, come to find out, he was moving a mile a minute. Yeah, but they was trying to get him as a free agent in Dallas. I remember when he was in Seattle, and they had these balloons and all this other stuff in Dallas. Cuban was trying to lure him away. I remember when he was with the Sonics, because he was free agent at the time. I remember Richard very well, because that was like in the late '00s before they moved to Oklahoma, which is still one of the strangest things ever to basketball. But that's how it happened. So, because the Coffee Man got rid of the team. Quirky, can be pesky, had some, just kind of this the arrogance. Sometimes it's privilege. Sometimes it's just kind of how he is, you know. Kind of surprised he's selling the team, but then I'm not. So yeah, to me is because I only liked I liked his beats a lot. I just wasn't feeling him. Sometimes musically, me and Ti could be kind of like at a, I liked the grooves he had, but I didn't always feel his raps were that deep, you know. But he had moments though. But then again, I remember that he sparred with Little Flip 20 years ago, and I'm like, well, that if that was your beef, yes, you're gonna win that one. But that was hilarious. Was it? Wait, was it Ti or was it Lil? Yeah, I gotta remember who went against Little Flip. But no, well, yeah, his beef. But anyway, I ain't really thought about him rapping in so long though. But I did like his beats a lot. I always liked the grooves he had. I just wasn't feeling. I wasn't like big on him as an MC, but his music. Oh yeah, Ti had some cuts. He had cuts more than I liked him. Um, I think that he's really a real nervous Nelly. Yeah, he sold out, but it don't make you great though. Not to me. I liked him all right, but I wasn't, blown away. He was a laid back, chill rapper, turned into a Hollywood actor, done quite well for himself, hmm and a good corporate plant spy for the industry because he Yeah, that's another video about Ti. I think he's in your snitch. Um, yeah. I mean, Jerry West. I mean, probably his nonchalant, his kind of herky. He's nerves and all that. But well, I can't find too much find fault with him. I just can't. The man's a winner, man. He's a made man. Can't really knock him too much. I mean, the whole thing with Phil Jackson is interesting, but ego and arrogance. But I mean, when you're on the highest stage as Jerry West has been, you know, so I'm going to tell you Gary Payton. So Gary moved me more. His defense could score, low post you up, and was the glove. Um, you know, Tony Parker was what he did, but Gary style moved me more. He was a greater point guard to me. If I'm on my food chain, I got Gary top 6, 7, and Parker's but after him. So it's not always about rings; it's about impact. And Gary made impact. He showed me a lot. He was great. You know, Parker was great, but he had Duncan, he had Ginobili, and you can make a case they were better than him in intervals. Gary, I can't say that Sean Kemp was necessarily better than him, and Gary was a strong player, so he was tough. Well, I already told you already. Even though I'm for guys going to the pros, the pet peeve is that we lost out on the KGs, the Kobe's, the Amari. Lost out on some of these guys, so we don't know. If we stop to about 94, maybe 95, we can say great. But after that, we can't because we lost out on a lot of guys. It just was a different dawn had emerged. Yeah, they won the chip in '06. He was part of it. We played in the finals with the Lakers in '04. But I like his game more than Parker's. He was a true point guard. He back you, post you, could shoot, could go to the hole, had a nasty bank shot. And he definitely could put his body in you. But he's a good example of a system. He was great with George Carls. He sucked with Phil Jackson's triangle. So, then he came all right with Pat Riley. So it all depends on what system you're in. All depends on the system. Sometimes some guys look great in one and some guys look another. I don't really touch that. I leave animals alone. I don't eat meat for one thing, and I'm not gonna touch that about dog. Um, the problem I have with dog people is that they either don't clean their dog up or they have like 15 dogs in one hand with no chain, and they pushing baby carriages, and they got a cell phone in one hand. I mean, no, I'm not with that. Yeah, he was because he accomplished more. Z- Uh, Zebo was a tough player, but Zebo was he didn't get a lot of his offense, and his game didn't turn to what Gasol's did. Gasol was a guy that could fit in better places. You got Zebo for like body protection and body, and he would score. But Gasol could score, could play defense, could pass, could run, could defend a bit, and he was good enough in different intervals. If Zebo goes to Phil Jackson's triangle, they ain't winning no. They ain't going no 3 straight finals and win no back to back like they did with Gasol. That's the difference. He'll get them to the playoffs, and they might get to a West Conference final. However, you got to have a certain type of player that fit. But I like Zebo a lot, though. don't know about underrated. Not overrated, not underrated. I think he was kind of like what he was. I think he kind of was what he was. He was a good player. But you ask me who I take, I'm taking Gasol because Paul was a better fit, went to a situation, complimented it, came up big, came up really big, you know. Because sometimes that's what it comes down to, too. And what can you see? And they both were on the open market and option. Uh, and Z-Boy had his chance in Memphis. They had that one Western Conference Finals appearance when they had Lionel Hollins as the coach and they got swept 4-0. And he never was quite after that. He was a body. He would score a bit, but he wasn't, Paul Gasol did a lot more. So, and I just got to keep it 100. Yeah. I got 18 more minutes. I'm going 18 more because that'll be 3.5 on here. And then I'm going to call it after about 18 more. So let's keep rolling. We keep on talking. Don't forget daylight savings time. So just letting you know. So heads up. If you ain't ready for it, no one really is. Depends on where you live. The weather is cold and it's just unfair. So Patrick Mahomes, man. Come on. Before you even ask me anybody else, unless you ask me about Brady or Montana against Mahomes, Mahomes is better than everybody else. And right now, I got him even better than Montana. So it's really out of him and Brady. I don't want to waste any time talking about who I call the magic wand because Mahomes is better than anybody that I think is 3 through 10 greatest in your time list. I'm going to take Mahomes over him. It's not even close. And he accomplished more than Breeze did. Breeze, there's nothing I can say about Breeze that I can't say that Mahomes ain't done better. You want a lot of yards, you want a lot of touchdown passes, you want to utilize dominance. Mahomes, 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 Mahomes. Not even close. Stats back it up. History gonna back it up. So Patrick Mahomes is like almost an untouched man right now with me. So unless you mention him with the greats of the greats, and I mean the upper tier, everybody else is not even. I'm not even going. I'm not gonna be rude. I'm just gonna keep it 100. He's that dude. He has no peer right now, so I think that he's a better talent than Brady, but Brady's got more the track record with the rings, and so that's the standards. But I do say this: if he three-peats this year, he passes Brady. If he gets 5 rings, he passes Brady. So combination of a three-peat or wins 5 rings, he passes Brady. 4 rings, but with a three-peat, he passes him. Or 5 rings, he passes him. He doesn't have to win 7 to be the GOAT for me. Because right now he's like 1A to him right now to me. Because the talent, the magnitude, the versatility, the way he's done it, you can't even compare it to no one else. And he's gone to 4 Super Bowls already and he's 3-1. So he's clutch. He comes up big time. He's right where he needs to be. And when you win 3 and you're a quarterback, you're in rare company. And when you've accomplished what he's accomplished, it's hard to argue against him. And I have to make it racial too, because he's the first black quarterback that's been in that position where GOAT, he's doing what, he's in that position. You ain't had another guy that's got a motor on him, got an arm on him, young, athletic, talented, and has got it going like that. You just don't see it like that. On a whole different level. So he's a unique specimen. He's one of those guys that you can, it's kind of unfair, but then again, you got to kind of wonder because he had some top talent and he just didn't ever got it done. Milwaukee, Golden State, Dallas. So it's kind of like, well, if I give you these guys and you don't even get to the show, it kind of doesn't look good on your resume. So unfortunately, he falls into that bag. You know, he does. Unfortunately, it's like he had a lot to work with and he just never got to the show. I'm one of those kind of people. You at least got to get to the show. I can live with you being a runner up, but when you don't ever get to the show and you got top tier talent, then you just don't look like you're cut out for what you're doing. Let's see. I got to think. Since you're asking the question, I got to think. Let me put this in perspective. Feel, pat, pop, red. Let's see. Feel, pat, red, pop. Red Holtzman is one of the greatest coaches with the Knicks. So that's 5. Kerr, Spo, Lenny Wilkins, that's 8. Larry Brown is 9. Billy Cunningham would be 10. Spo, 11. Casey Jones, 12. Rudy Tomjanovich probably would be 13. I already mentioned Larry Brown, so I got 13 so far. Let me think. Some might say Dick Motta. You can make a case for Washington. Dr. Jack Ramsey, so that's 15 right there. So Ramsey Motta, that's 15. Then you got that tier level of George Karl, Rick Alderman, Dan Tony. I think Doc Rivers would be ahead of that. So Nelson. So probably in the 20 to 25 slot. There you go. But not top 15. No. I just named them off the top. So no. Because I'd even put Doc in the top 15. But Doc would be there, and then Nelson would probably be in the 20 to 25 slot. Coaches get more of a pass because if you won a lot, coach multiple teams, it's kind of how it goes. But there's a lot of those. That's few and far in between. Because the NBA, if you think about it, Boston, the Lakers, then won the most rings. Okay. And then, you think about some of the guys that won a bunch of rings, like, you know, Phil's got 11, and Pat's got 5, and Pop's got 5. So that's 21 rings with 3 men. There you go. And Auerbach got his bunches. So you're talking about 4 guys that's won like 30 rings. So you don't have a lot of, and then when you get to a modern era of like Kerr with 4, Spo with 2, Casey Jones with 2. So that's 8 right there. Rudy T with 2. So that's 10. Okay. So yeah. Chuck Daly with 2. Okay, so yeah, um, Peyton, better statistics, better play regular season. They both got the same amount of regular Super Bowl rings, and Peyton went to lost to 2-4. 2-2. But Peyton, if we were going by regular season, he'd be one of the top 3 or 4 greatest quarterbacks ever. If we're going by regular season, that's what his peak prime. But if we factor in the body to work, but I got to give him the edge. Now, if you ask me who looked better in the Super Bowls, that's tight because they both sucked. But Ben looked better against Arizona than any of Peyton Manning's winning Super Bowls. Peyton Chicago Bears game was not that memorable for his offense. And then the one they won against Carolina, he didn't really do much. So that's a good question. So I had to use the regular season argument to get out of that. Because if I go by the postseason argument, it's closer. And Ben actually wins if it's postseason. But if we go by regular season, Peyton Manning in a blowout. So I give Peyton the edge. Yeah. But that ain't why he was a great quarterback. It's in part, but he had the mechanics. But regular season, Peyton Manning was one of the greatest I've ever seen, like regular season. So um he for me, yeah, because with the Chargers and the Saints, and he only got one Super Bowl appearance in a ring. And I thought for all those yards he threw and the touchdowns and the way they made it more quarterback friendly and the way he was dominating a watered down division, he would be more dominant, and he wasn't. So to me, yeah. Yeah, kinda. Considering. All things considered, because he had top frontline talent wherever he went. Uh Stop me if I'm lying, but he had LaDainian Tomlinson as a back in his backfield. I think he was with San Diego, didn't get it done. He got traded to Miami, they flunked the test and come. He goes up to New Orleans. Had Colston, Deuce McAllister. Then and because Reggie Bush was kind of like an anomaly at the time. Then you fast forward to Alvin Kamara. Had a lot of top talent. They just never won like I thought. Yeah, and then what? How many rings did they win? You asked me if he's overrated, and so I'm just giving you a point on how I feel. Because I think that considering the kind of offensive dominance they had, they should have been way more stacked, and they just never really was that team. Actually, he had Brady's number too, but they lost the postseason game. Yeah, one ring. And so I kind of look at him like you just think he would have been more dominant. That's all. It's kind of like, sometimes you see a guy that gets it, and some guys who, and it's nothing wrong with one ring because that's huge. But when you start getting into debates, Does he belong in the conversation with some of these other guys? Then no, because he doesn't. He doesn't. He broke all them records, threw all them yards, threw all them touchdowns, but yet it doesn't translate to him winning. So no. It all depends on your standards, though. Just like I feel Aaron Rodgers is a bit overrated. Yeah, you can be a great and be overrated too. It works both ways. Yes. What about him? And I'm gonna go in just a little bit too, because I'm here for a long time. So yes, what about him? He was. He got ran out of New York. Um, he was actually the right coach. They just ran him out. He um he did good with the Knicks. They just ran him out. You know, he got ran out. Phil ran him out. He was actually the right coach for them. And wasn't until they got Tibbs that they actually got a coach that actually brought them back to credibility because the Phil Jackson years were a wash. So he was actually a good coach. And I remember him. Yeah, he was good. He was good. So I think everybody else done pretty much split. So I got like a couple minutes before I'm gonna roll. We've been on here for a long time. Been a lot going through stuff. It's been good too. Been a lot, you know. Yeah, I hadn't heard no one say Mike Witten's name in a New York minute, so that's pretty good that you can go back and mention him. He was a good coach. He doesn't get talked about. I think he did a good job with the Knicks. Like I said, he just short end of the stick. Coach the Hawks. Yeah, make sure because I do want to think he did a good job there too. Let me make sure I got that right. Because we are talking about the same cat. Yeah, yeah, he had a good little run with the Knicks. I was right. Yeah, he did, but I liked him with the he was underrated with the Knicks. Yeah, yeah, he did good because he had them there. I remember. That's the way I really, I know him with Atlanta, but I remember him with the Knicks, which doesn't get talked about because he got ran out unfairly. So that's all. I like to give him his due. This thing went up super screen, so too big. Anyway, I'm gonna get off right now. Can't get this screen down no more. But yeah, it's too big now. Anyway, I'm gonna get off. I got on about this time. So, but yeah, it was good to talk about Mike Woodson. Wow, I hadn't heard that name in ages. But that was definitely worth getting give him a shout out though. Yeah, it was great wrapping it up. Come back tomorrow. I'm probably gonna be on tomorrow. I don't know if I'm gonna go as long tomorrow, but cause daylight savings time and everything. But it was a pleasure. Appreciate the Q&A. We have some great topics. Great to cover the bases. Stay safe. Stay warm. Be careful out there. Um, be cool. Peace. The best. We're gonna do it again. All right. Till next time. Appreciate everybody that stopped through. Appreciate everything. Thank you so much. Have a good night. I'm out. Peace.